Oh. I can go myself, so hold on. On his page. But yeah.
How you doing, PJ?
Yeah.
Are you? I'm
All right. You
Yes.
ready? I'd like to call legislative meeting to order. And the first item on our agenda is board appointments. Glenn Yarbrough. Andrews. Yeah, he's he always is. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the legislative committee before we get started?
No, I would just like to say, I'm just blessed to be a part of a life-changing situation with downright, and I hope that I'll be able to stay and keep serving our community because it's my passion, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for serving. We really appreciate it. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Ms. Andrews, thank you for serving. I want to volunteer, and I hear great things about you.
Yeah.
I hear your passion, which you have served. I think it's your second appointment.
No, I'm thinking about
He's been here for a long time.
Long time. That's why I'm here.
Long time.
It shows right there that you're doing a good job. I just want to thank you myself for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's it. The next item on our agenda is updates from the library board.
Hi, I'm Kat from the library. I'm the director, and I'm here to give you an update on some of the things we're doing and just the library in general. One thing I wanted you to be aware of, and you may have gotten some emails about this, is right now we're especially focused on getting information and about the census out and getting people to fill out the census. We are part of the grants that were given out by the Bering Community Foundation. We'll be having 2 different census parties where people can get gift cards for coming to fill out the census. We ask them to sign in and they'll get their gift card. We are also reserving computers for people to be able to fill out the census with no waiting. We have flyers up at the library. I've made pamphlets. The pamphlets were actually mailed out with our invitations to our upcoming veterans event so that they are aware that we have services at the library that can help them fill out the census. We're just really trying to make sure everyone gets counted so that the community and everyone that needs that money will get the money that we need for every citizen. And so I will be rotating flyers and getting more and more information out as the dates get closer. We also have started a lot of new initiatives for children. We have a program for 0 to 2 called Welcome to the World of Reading, and parents receive a book for the baby of library card sign up, and they may choose a book to keep each month when the library books are returned. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time I was here. We used to have a limit where children weren't allowed to get a library card before they were 6, but now we've removed that limit, and if you can bring your child in, you can get them a library card. So we also are working on the 1,000 books before kindergarten, which is for ages 0 to 5, and obviously entering kindergarten. There are reading logs for every 100 books read to the child. You turn in the completed sheet and you get a prize. They'll get workbooks and more reading logs as they go along. And they're also going to be on our board, like on our wall. Their name will slowly move down so we can recognize the children that are doing this. We have one of our storytime kids. He starts kindergarten this fall, and we just launched this last month. He's already almost at 100 books. Like, him and his mother, their goal is to hit this in the next couple months. I'm actually pretty amazed. We have Roar for Reading, which is grades K through 5, and children and their parents can receive a workbook at their desired grade level. When they complete that workbook, they'll bring the workbook in and receive another workbook and a prize. These are specific workbooks for learning literature and to continue their reading comprehension and their reading skills outside of just school. Because one of the biggest things we've seen is that school is great, but you need to keep reading at home during the summer, keep learning, and that's really what'll make it stick. It's not just, grade hours. We have had this for years, but we still have the Kids Book of the Month Club. Every month that children check out and return 2 books, they get a book to keep. These are any books that we have in the library, including our collection of NC books, which are available to children and parents who have no cards. If for some reason they cannot obtain one, they can still check out books and get Book of the Month Club. We have Get Lit at the Library. Enlighten yourself about the great history of the African Americans who helped our country grow. With each African American history book that is read, a point is added towards your 12-point goal of wanting a nightlight to be able to stay lit and read whenever you want. So we have all of these. We also have our Teen Advisory Board, and this month right now, our One Book, One Benton Harbor discussion, which is Bud Not Buddy, and that will be coming up in a couple weeks. And these are free at the library. You can come in and get one, yours to keep, and then come discuss it. So I'm really excited about getting the Teen Advisory Board going again. We have a young man who, I got a call, someone telling me, oh, he was telling me about the Teen Advisory Board today. I'm like, great, super excited. We just signed up to work on some senior seminars. Niles Public Library has been doing this for a while, and we're going to do that up here. They'll be once a month. The first seminar will be on fraud and scams, and that will be held actually during our free tax preparation time. So the people that are waiting for their taxes to get done can learn how to protect themselves from fraud. And we will be covering other topics such as like account titling, power of attorney, some end-of-life things that people need to know about, Medicaid, Medicare, things that the Area Agency on Aging can do for people. We're going to bring them in and work with them. And so that I'm actually really excited about. And while it is focused on seniors, it's open to anyone. If someone wants to learn about those topics, they're welcome to come too. Then we have worked on adding some more digital collections to the library. We just started a new database, which allows you to look up international recipes. We do have ebooks through Overdrive, and we're continuing to explore other digital media as the world changes. Print media is still actually much larger than people think it would be, but there's an increased need for digital media as well, and we're happy to consider that and look at what the best fit for our community is. We are going to be developing a library of things. We got a grant from the Marion Community Foundation. The library of things are non-traditional library items that will be housed at the library that people can check out. There'll be items that might be one-time use or just a couple times a year, like stud finders, or other items that you might only need every once in a while, not have room to keep, might not know which ones to buy. And so we will have those at the library. We've been talking to some other libraries basing our circulation on what they suggest for some parameters. And we'll be starting that collection and then making it larger as time goes on, depending on what our patrons need. And we're just always trying to see what the city needs. we've become a real meeting place for different organizations, and I absolutely love that. I think that is one of our strongest gifts that we can give to the community, is to be steadfast and a place that everybody knows they can come, they can get information, they can share their information, they can meet, and they can get a lot of services. We might not be able to provide them directly, but like we have a social worker. I'm not a social worker. I can't answer your social worker problems, but I can get you to the person who can, and then they can help you. And that's what the library is all about.
Thank you.
Thank
I have a couple questions, and then we'll get to after people ask those. But is there a Facebook for your census activity? Have you created a Facebook page for that?
We haven't created a dedicated Facebook page for the activity. I'm waiting a little bit closer to get more of that out. Right now, my plan has been, I want people to hear the word census, be aware of it, and know that we need them to be counted.
And then you want to create a page so people will have access
We
to
can
more
do that,
information. That would be great if we could do that. My other question is, how many Benton Harbor area schools are you partnering with in the community in terms of, I hear the outreach that you're doing at the library. So my question is, how many of those schools are you actually going into, alerting them about all the programs and activities that are happening in the community?
We don't go into many of the schools. We haven't always been able to work that out. There have been communication limitations to getting us into the schools. We do have a lot of schools that visit, and we welcome that and encourage it. We schedule times for them and give them a tour. Sometimes we've had 2 tours at one time because we had like 60 kids. I'm not sure exactly which schools have come. Exactly. We just mark them down and invite them and welcome them in.
It would be great to create a community outreach though, where probably once at the beginning of the school year, we're reaching out to those schools in our community and say, hey, this is what we offer to, and even bringing applications so kids can actually get them that cannot come down to the library or even, Boys and Girls Club and just other places.
We have gone a couple of times to the charter school. They've invited us to their reading nights. We are happy to go out and do that. And part of one of the grants we got from the Upton Foundation actually will enable us to do that better. It was to get some more scanners and tablets so that we can go out in the community and remotely add library cards. We just need to know who did that.
So it would be good to see an outreach and a list of schools and that kind of thing and how that outreach looks. I would love to see that happening. Teen Advisory Board is great. The fraud and scam is great. And with the library things, is there a cost associated with that, or is it just a rental like you would do?
It's just a free rental like any item. If we get some larger ticket items, we may have to consider a small charge. But the way many other libraries have done it is, one thing we've done is we've gotten rid of overdue fees. Our library has stepped away from that. After 3 months, we will send you a notice. If we haven't heard from you or seen your book in 4 months, you owe us for a book. These items, we might not be as forgiving with the overdue concept, and that's where it would be is when you check it out, you will sign that you understand that if you do not receive it in a specified time, you will be charged the full replacement cost.
Thank you. Commissioner, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd like to thank you, Kat, for coming tonight to give us an update. We have a lot of things going on at the library, being on library board with you, and I just want to thank you for getting the word out there. I know the newsletter is helping a lot and all the activities that we have at the library. So I'm just saying this right now, visit your public library. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams had a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Dee. How are you? Just a quick suggestion with what I've heard so far in your suggestions, to possibly hook up with the Benton Harbor Resource Office. I heard her mention some things about AARP and healthcare and all of that. There's some grandparents in the community that are raising children or taking care of them in the absence of a parent or something maybe, and
Okay.
that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that have any questions for the library? All right,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
one question. I heard you say that you go out to the charter school. Is that because they ask?
Yes, they schedule
Okay,
the
so
time for us
if
to come out.
the high school ask, you would do that?
Yes, I would love to.
Thank you.
And before I go, I just want to invite you all to attend Fandom Fest, April 4th, at the Mendel Center, Grand Upton Hall. Your library and 10 others put that on every year. It is a free event. It's a PopCon, and last year we had 700 people attend, and we hope to have more.
Thank you. The next report, thank you so much. The next report is the Dollar Ride. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I haven't met most of you here tonight. This is actually my exactly 6th month today on the job. I started on August 5th. I'm Paul Gillespie. I'm the new Director of Twin Cities Area Transportation Authority, Takata, popularly known as Dial Ride. I wasn't exactly sure of the format of the meeting here tonight, so I think I dropped off some copies to the city clerk. I'm not sure if they've been distributed. We created an annual report. Do you have those in front of you? The annual looks like this. This document. Okay. I didn't know whether it would be appropriate for me to go through this. I created this for our board members, and I want to say we have a quorum of our board members here tonight. Our president, Anthony Andrews, Juanita Henry, the commission delegate on our board, and Emma Kennard, our secretary, as well as TJ Taylor, our assistant director, is here tonight. So any questions that I can't answer, hopefully they can.
So could you give us and I'm sorry,
I just want
Mr. Gillespie, could you give us an abbreviated version of, because I know there's a lot of information and I know we won't be able to cover all of that information. And if anybody had any questions about the information, they can ask, but as much information as you can. But we have like a couple other committees also that's reporting out here.
okay,
So go ahead.
so maybe go over it just briefly as far as what I've got in here. It gives you, there's on the first page, there's sort of a message from myself. On page 3, you'll see a map showing the Takata service territory. This is an interesting map because we are a transportation authority and kind of a unique jurisdiction. As you can see, the yellow and red is what we get, what's called 5307 funding. It's the federal funding for our transportation agency. Our actual service territory is in yellow and not really shown here, but the only people who make a financial contribution to our service are the citizens of Benton Harbor, which is a tribute, I think, to the people of the city who have shown their support over the last 45 years when other jurisdictions dropped out. I go into that a little bit deeply in the timeline, but I have not spoken to anyone, any other jurisdictions outside of our board until now, because I wanted this group to be the people that I first introduced myself to and spoke about, because I have tremendous respect for the support that has been shown to Takata over the years by the people of Benton Harbor, 2 different millages being passed over the last 20 years. And the current millage goes through 2028. You probably know it's 1.25 mills, raises about $130,000 a year for our service out of a $2.5 million budget. So it's 5%, but symbolically, it's the only local contribution that comes from any of the jurisdictions. So my hat is off to the people of Benton Harbor who have supported this system over the years. And just to clear up any thoughts that people might have, you might know that there's been studies about consolidation or county takeover. I don't support that. I don't support the dissolution of the dissolving of Takata. I do believe that some of the other jurisdictions who are getting service right now, like Benton Township and St. Joe, should be making a financial contribution, and I hope to make the case to those other jurisdictions as time goes by. There's so much more we can do, but certainly St. Joe and Benton Township, who get full service from us, should rethink whether or not they need to make a financial contribution, because it shouldn't be just the people of Benton Harbor who are supporting this system financially. So that shows you a little bit about our service territory. We have 3 fixed routes, and that's why I usually call our agency Takata, because I know people would probably call it dial a ride, but we have fixed route services that are 20% of our service right now, and it's growing every year, and that you don't have to dial anybody. You just go to the bus stop and put your dollar in and hop on. So it's something that we've just instituted, the new yellow line, and I know City Manager Alice Mitchell worked on this for many years, and we finally got it into operation on January 15th of this year. We're offering free rides through the month of February, so people can sort of check it out and know whether it's going to work for them. So we're really proud that we finally, the first thing I saw about this was from 2016 in April. It was a flyer that says, "Coming this summer, a yellow line." That was 2016, 4 years ago. So it's been in the works. It's been on the books for a few years now. We finally got it on the road now, and I think it's connecting Benton Manor and Blossom Acres and the Boys and Girls Clubs and Intercare and parts of the city that haven't been served up until this point. So we're proud that we got that on the road. The next page gives you a little sense of who the passengers are: full fare, senior, disabled, children. The page 7 talks a little bit about the fixed route service. This is, it shows a decline there, but I have to say that in the last 2 weeks have discovered through some reporting issues on our ridership that these last 3 years, 2017, 18, and 19, are not accurate. We actually are giving over 100,000 rides per year. And the next time that I come to you, these numbers will be correct, and will show that we haven't had a decline in our fixed routes. We've actually had an increase over the last 5 years. So really happy about that. The demand response trips, that's shown in the next slide, or page on page 8. The funding that we get is, as I said, it's 5307 urban funding, and it's based on the population density and low-income population, which one thing I don't have to worry about is that people really do use our service. We have a utilization rate, primarily because we have a high percentage of people who don't have cars in the city, low-income people, disabled, seniors. So it's a question of just serving them as well as we can, because we know that the demand is there. We get state funding for about 30% of our operating expenses. Capital for buses and buildings and things like that is 80% federal and 20% the state. The local funding I've already talked about a little bit. The city of Benton Harbor levies 1.25 mils for real and tangible personal property, and that is about 5% of our overall budget. As you can see on the next page, which is the revenue sources, we get about 49% of our funding from the federal, 37% from the state. 9%, 9-10% comes to fare box, and about 5% from the Benton Harbor millage. The next page breaks down where that passenger revenue comes from, whether it's fare box, we have punch cards, we have tokens, contracts, various ways people can pay for the service. On page 12, you'll see expenses. Most of our greatest expense, obviously, for a bus company is driver salaries, wages and benefits, things like that. We have certain maintenance of the buses and administrative costs too, but that's only about 1/3 of our budget. The next page is kind of interesting. It gives you an idea of some of the things we've done in the last year. We've purchased 9 new buses. I'm very proud of this. All our buses are wheelchair accessible. All of them carry bicycles. So it's really something that a lot of cities struggle to have transit that does that, but we do it and have done for many years now. We've done replaced the hoist in our maintenance facility across the street, so we're able to do more of the maintenance work on that. We have cameras in the buses now that are able to give us good information on what's happening, if there's any kind of altercation or any problem on the buses. We have a new vehicle storage facility, scheduling and dispatch. this week, we're really busy. These last 2 weeks, starting the yellow route and putting in the new tablet-based dispatch has been a lot of activity in the month of January. And just this week, we're transferring over for years, ever since the dial writer started, we've used a radio and pencil and paper to do our trip reports and our dispatching. And we just this week are going through the process of putting in new tablet-based dispatch that is making the world a better place, I think, or at least our company a better place in terms of the efficiency of how we design our routes, the ability for drivers to have this information without having to write it down, listen to the radio while they're driving. We're a little behind on this. Most other jurisdictions have put this in over the last 20 years or so. So we're really happy to finally get this in place, and been really good feedback so far from the drivers and dispatchers this week as far as how it's going. We've also purchased a snow plow, so we used to have to contract that out. The next page shows you a little bit about the University of Michigan project. We were really blessed to get a $1.5 million grant from the National Science Foundation and the University of Michigan, which I've been working with very closely. And they're doing all sorts of things. Let's picture it as Tara Bilzer. She's a doctor of urban planning. Used to be at the University of Michigan. She's now at Wayne State University, but she's been doing a lot of interviews of our citizens and our passengers, just really trying to find out the basic questions of who uses our service, where do they need to go, when do they need to go, what can we do better. So we're really putting a lot of effort into that. We've got some high-tech things out there. We have it's not even facial recognition, it recognizes the whole shape of the person. When they get on the bus, they can track it to the GPS, where they're getting on, where they're getting off. This is all information that I would have to sort through hundreds and hundreds of pages of handwritten logs and somehow analyze this stuff. And this project with the National Science Foundation is really, they haven't presented their findings yet because it just got into gear in the last few months. But once they get that, we're going to have a really good sense of, a better sense of our ridership and who they are, where they need to go, when they need to go. So it's going to help us design our fixed routes and make our demand response service more efficient. The next page sort of identifies some of the key issues as far as the future. When I first took this job, I really wanted to learn for myself something of the history of Takata. And so I paid with my own money a subscription to newspapers.com and spent 3 or 4 days just going back through the whole 45-year history of our agency. And I put together this Takata timeline, which I'm not going to take the time to read this all today, but if we ever do a presentation before the full board or retreat like Ellis is talking about, I'd like to go over this a little bit because I think it's interesting, especially the first 5 years, as how this was originally an authority that was designed to be Benton Harbor, St. Joe, Benton Township, St. Joe Township, and Lincoln Township. And over the first 5 years, the other jurisdictions all dropped out, and it was left to the citizens of Benton Harbor to really keep it going. And there were some touch and go moments. At one time, there was a millage that failed in June, and the people had the presence of mind or foresight to put it back on the ballot in August, when it was the primary ballot, when the turnout was greater, and the people of Benton Harbor again voted to pass this millage. So, like I say, my hat's off to the people of Benton Harbor who really supported this system over the years, and it's why there's pushback or a resistance to anyone coming in from the outside and taking it over. We shouldn't stand still or just say that how we've been doing it is great, but I don't want to dissolve this agency. I think the Twin Cities Area Transportation Authority is something that has a bright future. We're moving forward with technology. I have an idea, and I'll just bring it up here a little bit tonight. I've only talked a little bit with our board and some of the people in our company, but if you've ever been over to our facility, we have 3 fixed routes now. Berrien Bus is putting in 3 fixed routes that come from Waterville, Niles, and New Buffalo. They're all converging on our facility. And where these buses stop and where people have to wait is really just the driveway of our parking lot of our facility. It was never designed as a bus station. So I sort of looked around and thought, well, we could really use a bus station or a transfer station. So my idea is to take the old Roxy Hamburger Drive-In, which is right across the street on Main Street, and it's been sitting empty for 20 or 30 years now. But it has a nice building, it has a nice long parking lot with a canopy, and the building is for sale. The gentleman is older, he wants to sell. And so I'm gonna bring it up tonight, and I'm gonna spend the next few months talking to people, whether they think that this is a good idea for the city of Benton Harbor to put in a bus station right across the street that would have all our fixed routes. My vision is that people can stop at that station and get to any point in our system with one bus, so that all the routes would converge there. I've heard various proposals over the years of having a bus station like this, but it was always either in Berrien Springs or out in the mall, the old Sears Center. I didn't like that idea. I think it needs to be right here in downtown Benton Harbor. I think it would be a much more, something that would be good for the community development and to really cement the city of Benton Harbor in the downtown area by the Arts District and the Civic Center. It's a perfect location. We can see it from our dispatch window of our building, so I just want to throw that idea out there. We're in the very earliest stages of talking about this, so I'm hoping that this commission as a whole, or the people on this committee, will support that idea. And if I feel like there's good support for the idea, go forward as far as getting money for architecture and engineering studies and get a sense of what it would take to actually accomplish this. I feel like the bones of that building are really good. There's no holes in the roof, there's no pigeons inside, and it's something that I think this city could really use as far as cementing the idea of right here in downtown Benton Harbor being the central core of this system. So there's a lot of other things in this kind of timeline that I could go into, but I probably spent as much time as I should here tonight talking about this. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or anything else that we're working on.
Thank you for the report.
And I'm a little hard of hearing, so.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was
Speak
talking.
in your microphone.
I talk very loud all the time. Thank you, that was a really good report. And yes, I will support something like that. That would be a great idea. I just have one question about chartering services. I know you have some really great buses, and we had an opportunity to ride on one to something. And have you thought about chartering services for one of those buses?
Well, that was one of the few exemptions where we're allowed to do charter service. It was about 20 years ago. There was a law passed that restricted public agencies as far as their ability to do chartering service, because the private charter companies were able to convince Congress that using publicly funded transit agencies like ours would be unfair competition to their services. So in the example where you and Ellis went up to Detroit, we were able to do that because you're sort of, you're not our direct governing authority, but you're sort of a second, you appoint our board. So if it's government agencies or things like that, we can do it. But if someone just wants us to charter a group of people to go take a baseball game in Chicago, we can't do that. There's a certain limited number of times where we can use charter services. So it's something I learned. I didn't know that was true, but the charter industry was able to convince Congress to not allow that, what they consider to be unfair competition, or publicly supported.
They do it all the time. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. Gillespie, yeah, this is an outstanding report here. And I see that you have 40 employees, and I noticed that a lot of them is from the city here, majority of them, you say, and that is good. I see great things happening here for the dollar ride. But one thing I want to ask, I know that some people stand out in the cold. Is it possible they can put those little shelters, enclosure things in different the locations that people stand there, I don't know how that works. Locations you can put the little enclosure.
As far as like bus stops, are you talking about?
Yeah, at the bus stop, some places.
I'll tell you, I lived in California for most of my life. When I came back here, I grew up in this area, but I came back and I really kind of freaked out when I got back. I'm like, there's no bus shelters, there's no bus stops. Where do people stand? Where are the sidewalks? And we had a grant to put up some additional bus shelters, and it just TJ and others had told me that we worked on this for a couple of years, and it was just so hard to get businesses to even accept a bus shelter or stop in front of their businesses.
Wow.
And then you have the additional problem of the lack of sidewalks. Like, for instance, take a look at Napier and M139. That's one of the busiest intersections in a place that potentially could have a couple different fixed routes going through there. There's no sidewalks anywhere. It's very hard to find a place to drop people off. So we drop people off in the Save-A-Lot or the Walgreens parking lot right now. It's a thing that's on my radar screen to have more bus stops, to have more fixed routes. I envision a fixed route that goes out Napier to the college. I'd like to have a fixed route that runs out to the medical facilities on Hollywood Road. I'd like to have like a circulator type bus route out in the mall area that would go from place to place, kind of in a loop. So these are all things that I really want us to be a big grown-up transit system and really have these kind of facilities. So, and I'm glad you mentioned the point about the local, because I really just fallen in love with our workforce and our drivers, and I really enjoy. It's probably been one of the best parts of my job is learning our drivers, learning about their lives and their families, and how some of them have been there for decades. And they're really dedicated people who do good work, and it's a pretty good job. We have good benefits. I don't pay a dime for any of their health or dental benefits. That's all taken care of by us. So I really care a lot about our drivers, and you know, it is a good job, and I think it's really rooted in this community. People who know the streets and know the people who live here. So it's been a real pleasure for me to learn that about our workforce.
Thank you, Ms. Gillespie.
Commissioner Adams, you have? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I wish that our city clerk would put something to the effect of these shelters on Economic Planning Development Committee meeting. Thank you, sir. I had no idea that this was going on this evening, but I just grabbed this little thing, and you'd be amazed at what's in it. And it's been in here for several years. It's a picture of my son and another child that did a contest that they had in Flint, Michigan, and their pictures that they drew was on the city buses. And it was a campaign for, you don't have to be cool to smoke. I mean, you don't have to smoke to be cool. Yeah. Y'all didn't hear that. You know who I am. Bear with me. But it was amazing because not only did it give the kids a scholarship, that's a form of trying to raise some money to do advertisement for some of the businesses that are coming in that may offer education of some sort or just gaining some type of something just to lure and with the hopes that they would sponsor to better and upgrade our transit system. Also, just very, very briefly, I have a client that loves telling me the story of the history of the Dollar Ride, but I think it should be for the whole community. She helped to build it, some of the programs that it originated from. And I wish that I could have her to know that she can come and talk with you.
Yeah.
I have a brother-in-law that was one of the first drivers.
Wow.
Yes. Those people should not be left out of the history because right now we have some kids at the high school learning the history overall of Benton Harbor, but thank you.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Well, take a look at the timeline. I think
Oh, I
it's
will.
very interesting.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Paul.
Yeah.
They're asking about the bus stops. Can you tell them how long it takes? TJ,
Pardon me?
can you tell them how long it takes to get a bus stop?
At one of the facilities?
Yeah.
Takes a long time. We've been turned down so many times.
Turned down by MDOT
Haven't
in
put
years.
bus stop, bus shelters
years.
at certain businesses like Martin's and places like, even at,
Come up to the
Yes.
to the mic so they can,
And
so
say
it can
that
be
again,
recorded,
please.
yeah.
Please, so the community can
Can
hear.
hear.
Ask a question.
Good evening, my name is TJ Taylor, I'm Assistant Director of Dollar Ride.
The question was asked, for the record, is how long it takes for a bus stop to be established in, TJ from the.
First of all, it's very hard to even get an establishment that allows to put a bus stop, a bus shelter at their, business.
Boycott time.
Right. For some reason, we even go to corporate, we advise even the local managers that we have a Dollar Ride service that stops here 2 or 3 times an hour. And they're fine with that, but they do not want a bus shelter, bus stops put at their place of business. So sometimes it's difficult to even get the approval to put up a bus shelter.
And then when you get approval.
Then it's a lot more work involved with the,
Okay.
it's gotta be handicap accessible for the buses at the bus stops. You gotta approve, you gotta have engineers there to redo the sidewalks. And so it is a long process.
We're buying our own grocery stuff.
Thank you guys so much for your report. Are there any other questions for them before we move
I
on?
have a new map that we've created with our schedule and our routes, and I'll distribute that so you have that. And there's on the back of the page, on the annual report I wrote, you have my contact information, so any questions you have, I'm more than willing to answer them and help you out.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next committee on our agenda is the Downtown Development Authority. We're on the second item of Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
This is just reports from different boards. At our last legislative committee meeting, we talked about the various other organizations and them reporting what's happening in those committees or things, reporting those
Won't
out.
be to us.
Some other committees.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I just thought that was the body as a whole too.
they will be coming to all of the different committees to give reports. Like the Brownfield, they'll be also coming as well.
Good evening.
Oh, here.
Yeah, they'll be coming to the different committees, so, to give a report of what's happening.
This meeting will too.
I will-
That's right. I got you. Are you there? This is another question. It's dark.
Sorry, we're trying to get so you can see what we're talking about.
If not, we can watch, we can, yeah, we'll just turn around.
Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, everybody's looking. Okay.
If it's not, if you want mirror, we'll just watch. Did you see that?
I guess this is, it has to be lighting wise. I'm Richard Hensel. I'm the president of the Downtown Development Authority. We have a number of board members here tonight who are going to, a couple are going to take part in the presentation. But I'd like to mention, we have Chef Audrey Peoples, who's one of our board members. Mrs. Linda Allen, who will be presenting, she's a board member. And we have Jonathan Pugh, who's also a board member from the DDA board. And you'll see as we go through this that we've got other people we're working with as well. And Mr. Mitchell, of course, is a board member. So,
You, Tracy.
I'm Tracy, I'm sorry. And yes, and of course, Tracy. Actually, I think we have you on somewhere on the list, we'll see. So the Downtown Development Authority is basically working to support downtown businesses to encourage expansion and attraction through advocacy and promotion. and we'll tell you a little bit more as we move through this. So there is the full list of board members. And as you can see, we have Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Jennings who are present for meetings at different times. Ms. Jennings does come to most every meeting to help us out. So
And here is a list of our different partners, institutions that, and our key partners that help finance the work that the DDA has done in 2019. I'm not going to read them all, but none of these on the list, if I don't say a name, it's not to say that they're not on top of, we don't appreciate everything that they do. But we have a number of them that we got the Benton Harbor Area Schools, AEP, Benton Harbor Public Safety, the Planning Commission, and we have Barron County Health Department, Barron County Treasurer, and the Land Bank, we're very proud, and of course Chemical Bank, and the Cynodale, Michigan Economy and Development. So that's just a list of the key partners that help us to undergird the costs and the efforts that we do on the board.
So the Downtown Development Authority board members or leaders of the boards of the three municipalities, Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, and St. Joseph Township, were invited to participate in the development of the Twin Cities Sustainable Harbor 2040. We were invited to technical meetings where we discussed ways to improve the community engagement process, encouraging them to add more groups to visit and to access the different resources that we have here in the community to try to get the word out among all three municipalities. And we've worked with the others who are also involved in this to help create a vision that everyone can be a part of.
So we're actually starting a committee, part of the DDA, some members, some of the board members and community members to basically start laying the groundwork for a good marketing plan in place to help promote the city of Benton Harbor as a place that's inclusive, preferred place for not only office space, but shopping, dining, the arts, and of course living. I mean, that's an important part of the broader area of the downtown district in Benton Harbor. So what we want to do is, as part of that, is we're basically just more or less recently formed, but we want to reach out to some of the area businesses to see where some opportunities are, to see how we can help them, what their needs are, and then to basically find out a good way to put an action into place for a really nice marketing campaign. This can be low budget, but we can figure out a way to do that. Some of the ideas that we were throwing around were possibly maybe creating some short stories to hear from individuals, either whether they're residents, business owners. We want to understand kind of why they're here, whether they might be artists, why they chose the city of Benton Harbor. And I think if people can relate to stories that people share, and it's a powerful tool to be able to share those stories with the public and hopefully attract people to come visit, see what's going on here in the city. And we're kind of excited to start getting started on this year. So.
One of our initiatives this year was the beginning of what we're calling the Narrative Project. The Narrative Project is going to be an ongoing thing where we'll be engaging with community residents and other people who've had experience in Benton Harbor to try to begin to record the history of the area that we know of as downtown Benton Harbor. That history is very important as we move forward in the Michigan Main Streets program, which is a program that helps downtowns market and improve their ability to bring in businesses and get the word out about what good things there are here. So we had an event in the summer, and we were able to gather up some information and try and present as a sort of a small test an exhibit on 20 years of the Benton Harbor Arts District. And that was very well attended, and I hope some of you were able to come and see that. Another project was Benton Harbor Farmers Market banners. The city, of course, has just dedicated this wonderful new pavilion in Dwight Mitchell Park, and we wanted to see as many as possible new faces come downtown and enjoy the market and get a chance to look around and see what we have to offer here to people who are looking for services or goods or art, whatever it is they're looking for. So one of our first endeavors here was to help in partnership with the health department and Cornerstone to have 10 banners printed from money that we raised for that project to assist the health department. You'll see them this summer going up when the market's ready to reopen. This project, the Downtown Visitor Center, is the same place where we held our exhibition for the Narrative Project. We've been able to discuss with the property owner an arrangement that could make it possible for us to afford to open a visitor center, working collaboratively with others who are also working with visitors and producing the materials that we would need to hand out to people coming to visit. We feel that we can do that with volunteer labor, which is going to be a challenge, but with volunteer labor and a small budget, to be able to also tell Benton Harbor's story to people who are coming through downtown. That site is selected specifically because Fifth Street is a major corridor to downtown from M63 and of course from Harbor Shores. And we want to make sure that people who are coming through there have an opportunity to stop and find places to go for whatever it is they need. And we will do our best to offer some concierge service so that we can answer questions about what theaters are playing, where people could stay, that kind of stuff, in order to try to bring people to Benton Harbor.
And this is another one of our celebrations, you would say, we put on, which is Halloween, which was really nice. And again, like Rick said, a lot of these things that we're doing is actually to showcase Benton Harbor. And when I first came and got on any board, I always heard there's nothing to do with Benton Harbor, no one's doing anything. And really what we're trying to do is change that myth, because in order to showcase something, you have to have something to show. And so that is the key of what we're working towards. But we all have to have the mindset that we are working together for a purpose, for one cause, and that's to invite people to the city and showcase what we have. This is a great event. The kids dressed up. Some of the business owners did. They had food inside the shops. Really nice event. And we had quite a bit of people to attend. And that's what we want because, you know, we can go down St. Joe. They have it there. And everyone's saying they got this in St. Joe. Well, we can have it in Benton Harbor. We just have to have the mindset to work together. And when we put events on, we need people to show up. We can talk a lot, but no one's actually putting their feet to the pavement. So that was another event that turned out really well. So we have a lot of things going on, and we will continue to do it. This board is very compassionate about improving the city and doing more things because I can say this board really, when we meet, we're not just meeting, we're actually leaving the meeting with something new that we want to put into place for the upcoming years of different events. So that was one of them. And the lighting in the city park is actually great. This is something that I don't know, I get more kick out of it than the kids. I know we do it for the kids, but when you got the holiday season come, it just changed the mindset. It changed the feel of what's going on in the city. And another thing is that we're grateful and we're thankful when the lights come on. A switch just come on to be more loving, more caring. And that's what we want to see. And again, we're showcasing the city. We don't have a huge part, but when you turn those lights on, it just changed the flavor of downtown and on Main Street. And I've heard so many compliments that we had, and there's more to come with the lights. We've got the tree and we're doing some other things that's going to really make a difference. But again, it's a partnership. So we can't do it alone. We need donors and people to want to add more to it and do more. And again, we will keep pushing on to do the best that we can to beautify the city. So that's a great event that we have there as well.
And I'll just add to that, it's having been a resident since 2006 in the Arts District in Benton Harbor, it's a really nice thing to have, the lights up. It's something that you don't think about too much until Christmas rolls around, but it just shows that the city is, cares. They're willing to pay the electricity to have something look nice in the area, and I can tell you that the residents really appreciate that. And as a DDA board member, we spent a lot of time setting the lights up, stringing them around the bushes and stuff like that, but it is something that we could use help from the community. I think it'd be a great example for the community to come together and just help, towards one cause, something simple, just string lights around some of the trees. So we're showing an image here of the larger tree lit up. We actually couldn't get that lit this year. We didn't have the right lift, the right equipment to reach that high and actually light it this year. But that's an example. Hey, if somebody knew, somebody that had a lift or equipment or a ladder, it'd be great to help, figure this out. So, yeah.
I'd like to add to that for this year's holiday lighting, we took that in-house instead of hiring a landscape firm as had been done for all the years before I came on. And so if the pictures in one of those slides were pictures of people, actually young people from Youth Build, who actually provided the labor to put the lighting on those poles. So that was a project they took on in return for a donation from the DDA to build the restrooms in their classroom building. So we really do work collaboratively with whoever's ready and willing to help out. So this one, Riverview Drive, as many of you know, 655 Riverview Drive has had a number of issues recently. We've read in the news about how the buildings are condemned or being condemned and how they're places where people can't live. It also came to our attention that a number of the units had actually been foreclosed on through the county's processes and had been offered for auction at the land auction, and no one bid on them. As a result of that, and collaboration with the Berrien County Land Bank, the DDA is poised to take possession of a number of them and to begin to work towards a development for housing and other uses, commercial uses, that would be priced at a level which most people could afford. We're not talking about building luxury apartments. We want these to be entry level, and places where seniors who don't qualify for tax credit properties due to their assets, but also are restricted in the amount that they can pay rent. We want to make sure that we can keep our seniors here and to give them a great place to live, overlooking the river and making them a part of downtown. We are in the very first steps of this, and there's much more to talk about and to work on. So we'll be keeping you informed as we move forward in 2020 on that. So just like to make a quick explanation for how we are able to do any of this. The funding for our programs comes from donations of cash, donations in kind, an offer of free space, which we've made use of this year, and caring people who decide that they want to see Benton Harbor's downtown thrive. So in the future, we hope that we can put things on a more professional footing with regard to that, so that we're able to do our other programs more effectively. But in the meantime, we're still at it and we still do it this way, and it's worked now since 2009. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. I just have I have a couple questions. So with the visitor center, I know you talked about showcasing businesses and stuff that's in the downtown area. Will people who are interested in having businesses or events put in that pamphlet, will they have an opportunity to pay money to help get those pamphlets created? So there is an African American History Museum in the city of Benton Harbor.
Mhm.
So if that business wanted to participate and to put its information in the pamphlet so people know that that center was available, could they do that with the printed materials that you're having printed up, so that people know that that business is there? That's my question.
We are not planning to print anything ourselves.
Right, I know you said
So
you have.
we're going to be asking people who have information they'd like to get out to visitors,
Oh, okay.
and to our residents who are driving through the area and looking for something to do themselves. So yes, we would certainly want to see any kind of place like that, which visitors might want to go to, or if there are events that are taking place where the general public will be invited, that's where I think the concierge service would work, because we would have that information up to date from the people who are actually doing the programs. So we can direct people towards whatever's going on.
Thank you. Does this committee have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you, Downtown Authority. That saying that you just said, Ms. Allen, change that myth. And that is something that's You know, I hear people say too, it's nothing for us down, there's nothing to do, but it is. I want to thank you for your hard work. I've seen those planners. Did you have something to do with those planners, some square planners all around down Main Street?
Actually, yes, one of the board members of the DDA raises the funds, buys the plants, brings fresh dirt, puts all the plants in and waters them throughout the summer and deadheads them. So if anybody who is doing gardening and wants to hang out and pick off dead flowers, I'm sure he'd be happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams. I have a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. I appreciate Mr. Tutton. He used to come up in the community and till the whole garden for me every year. And the community wouldn't show up. So it was just me and my grandbabies. And I spent a lot of money growing fruit, but I was able to feed some people that wanted to freely just go into the garden. And it was a wonderful experience. Nothing like fresh fruit and vegetable. I want to thank Miss Linda Allen for what she said. Because I'm sure a number of us go to other communities on vacation, spend a lot of money. But nobody coming in here to do anything because there's nothing to do. Spending their money. And we have to make it inviting. Please stay on board. Can you help me to understand how something like this happens without approval of it coming through here? Or do you all give such approval? There's an old building down here. I think it used to be an AutoZone place. That's now a tech center.
Right.
How does something like that happen without it being rezoned for a tech center or it coming through the commission for such approval? Does the downtown authority take care of things like that?
No, actually, that's not part of what the DDA does, and maybe Mr. Reed, who will be here behind me to talk about the planning commission, can answer the
okay.
question about the zoning in
Okay.
particular.
Okay.
But we advocate, meaning we just are trying to
I mean,
go out and talk and
it is
bring people in.
through the
But-
chair. It is a wonderful thing.
But we
But I would just like to know, how does something like that happen without the process of the way I see other things move and shift in Benton Harbor? How does something like that happen without the knowledge of this commission, the people's elected body? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Thank you guys for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank the downtown development for the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us come and present to you. And for your information, this presentation will be available to all the city commissioners through the clerk. And at some point, we will have a link on our Facebook page, which is Benton Harbor DDA. And you'll be able to look back at this and read some of the text that we kind of zoomed through this evening.
Thank you
Thank
so much. Mr. Reed.
Madam Chair, while Mr. Reed is coming up, I'd just like to say for everybody here, anybody listening, Commissioner Adams is right that things should not be happening without coming through the city commission, and things will not be happening without coming through proper channels.
Mr. Reed, before you get started, that was a question at some point, if you want to answer that question through the planning commission.
Could you ask the question again?
The question that she had in terms of.
How you doing, Mr.
development.
Reed? Good evening, Madam Chair. The question was, how does something like the tech center that's across the street from the Old National on Main Street, that was a auto parts store where they sell oil and auto parts, become the thing that it is now without the permission or knowledge of this body, or to be kept so quiet that we know nothing? I mean, how does something, does the planning commission have that authority without letting this body know? Or Well, they say they don't.
Yeah,
So,
but Commissioner Adams, after he gets his presentation, he can answer
Yeah.
that question for us.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I'm gonna explain how all of this works. My name is Lee Reed. I'm
Thank you,
the
sir.
chairman of the Planning Commission. Planning Commission consists of the mayor, commissioner, the community and economic development director, the city manager, he's part of it also, voting member. And then you'll have a chairman, a vice chairman, and then you'll have 4 additional members, usually volunteers from the community. The intent and purpose of the planning commission is to make sure that there's a certain amount of enforcement, commitment to, and with the master plan. As a matter of fact, I'll just read it to you right quick. I'll have a PowerPoint presentation next time. I didn't know you all got it all fancy. The master plan is the city's official policy guide for physical improvement and development. In other words, this is a guide that we're going to use to determine how you want your city laid out for your economic, community, and residential and commercial development. It includes such things as what we call, I like to call it landscaping. You want to make your city look beautiful and enticing to people to come here and want to be here, and for the purpose of the people who live here. Now, the zoning ordinance, those are the laws. This is how the city is able to get people to comply with what you want them to do with their private property. In other words, the issue at hand here is how could somebody take their private property and improve it or do whatever they want with it without notifying the city? Basically, you have to apply for a permit to do certain things in the city. And you can go on the city's website and you'll determine what types of activities or improvements that will require a permit. Roofing, for example, putting in a water heater, something just that simple. And that's how the city and the assessor can keep up with what's going on in the city. Private owners, for whatever reason, don't like to spend a lot of money, so sometimes they may or may not notify anybody that they're doing it. And if they can do it and get away with it, we'll never know why it happened or who did it or when. I have almost 2 years of things that we've done. I'm not going to try to cover all of that tonight. What I would like to look at would be some of the most important things that we've done in the last year. One of the things that we were looking at was to redo the master plan. It's required every 5 years. The intent and purpose is to update it, make sure it's going along in the direction that the community is going in. It's been 8 years since our last master plan, so rather than review it, I made a recommendation that we might as well go ahead and do a master plan because you're going to be required to do one in 2 years anyway. And with the expense of a full master plan, what we're looking at is to see where we can get a grant, we can get some free money. If the city is willing to match whatever we can come up with and maybe kick in a little extra, I think we can get the full master plan. What we would like to do is to set up a subcommittee to work with whomever we select to do the master plan. And we could do a lot of the work and this could lower the cost of the overall project. Now, some of the things that we've done this year, and that's the approval of Novo's request for a cannabis special use permit. This is a marijuana grower's permit. What they'll have to do is first get approval by the state, go through that process. Once the states give them a conditional approval, then they can come and apply here in the city. Once they meet all the city's requirements, then they'll come before the planning commission for us to review their request. They want to be a grower, and they also want a special permit for cultivation. So we would look at both of those and make sure that the everything is in order. And they'll also submit to us a site plan for the facility or the building that they're going to conduct the business in. So the growing and the cultivation is the business, the site plan. That's the layout of the physical building, wherever that's located. They were out at the 900 Arico property. That's 11 acres out by the airport. It's heavy industrial. So it's also Ben Harbor's agricultural district. That's where they can conduct and have a greenhouse. So if there's no objection in the ordinances or in the master plan, we are required to approve it. So we can't just arbitrarily disapprove something because we don't like it, the idea. That was approved. We gave them a conditional approval if they hook up with city water. We discovered, I believe, that the connection would not be feasible at this time. So their permit expired within 6 months. We didn't feel that we could get it done in that other time. So we went ahead and gave them approval. They indicated that if city water becomes available, they will, of course, hook up. So that's where we went with that one. AEP requested, they wanted to upgrade their transformers and what have you at their location downtown here. After the flood, the water came, they discovered that the property where they wanted to make the improvement would be sitting about 3 feet underwater. So they decided that was what they were not going to do. So they abandoned that project. We're still waiting to find out whether or not they're going to restore the project back to its original condition. Because what it's doing now is contributing to floodwaters in the adjacent properties. So we have requested that they come before us and let us know what they intend to do about that. The airport wants to expand. They claim that they have about 60 private aircraft owners who want to park their airplanes here at the airport. So they requested an airport expansion. We approved it. It's no money in it for the city. I'm not sure what the relationship is, but they seem to be good neighbors. We haven't had any issues or problems with it, so we approved that one. Adam Sign wanted to put up a very large sign downtown, electronic billboards. They did not meet the size requirements, so we turned that down. I believe it's in court now. They're appealing that one. Cornerstone wanted to have us do boundary adjustments on the properties down here on the corner. 126 Pipestone, that building there that they are beginning to improve. They want to put apartment buildings in that. They had to separate it from 70 and 80 West Main properties. It was more of a taxing issue. The buildings physically are separated, but they have been joined together for tax purposes. The Twin Cities Sustainable Harbor presentation we were involved in. We also attended all of the meetings with the workshop. So we are up to date on what they want to do and where they want to go. It's our recommendation from the Planning Commission that we jump on that. It seems that they are quite a ways down the road with their development on it. So we need to, catch up and decide how we want to do our riverfront, lest the private property owners there be enticed to do it some other way. We are looking at, Director Jennings probably knows a little bit more about this. Medic, that's the state's development group that works with us. They possibly could have a grant for us for the master plan. So we're looking at that to see if this money's available for us. That's basically where we're at right now. The next time I do it, if y'all have about 2 hours, I can run you down to it right quick. With any other additional questions?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Did I get that question, Madam Chair?
Yeah, he did. He answered your
Okay,
question.
I guess I didn't quite understand it because he was talking about private property owner.
If you have a deed to property, that's your property.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. And if a person doesn't come and do the necessary paperwork, But when it's found out, I guess that's for us to take care of.
The building official, it becomes the
Yes.
city's problem.
Okay, but when we find that out, is there a part that the planning commission actually plays in it? I got a problem with it because it's our young children in the community, in a predominantly black community next door to a liquor store. It's a problem. And those are the type of things that zoning is supposed to take care of. And I just wanna know, how did that happen? Because we're real sticklers when it comes to zoning and making sure that things are followed properly.
Code enforcement is what you're looking at.
Okay,
And we do not do code enforcement. That's
Okay.
part of the building official and police department.
okay, so if it's deemed though that a property owner
Commissioner Adams.
changed, no, I'm asking you through the chair. How can we find out, just throwing it out there, so if somebody comes up with the information, return it please, that if in fact the property was actually sold and it's not a private owner, where do we go from there? If somebody could
City manager.
get
Thank
that.
you. Just a minute, I think there was one other question before you answer that question, city manager, that, Mrs. Kennard had a question, I think. Mrs. Kennard, you started to get up when,
Yes, I want to know at a point, you're speaking of this building on the corner of
could you
Main
come
and
up to the
Pipestone.
podium so they can record it, I'm sorry.
Of Main and Pipestone. For my, history of knowing this project, it, involved of, a contract through the Brownfield that they have,
Which
started on this project.
project are you referring to?
Is he talking about the one on the corner of Main and Pipestone? 126.
Yeah,
Is that the
one
same one?
26 Pipestone, yes.
They've already started on,
They had what they call opera, was that the correct term? Opera. I know it's one of those movies. I'm not totally familiar with that and how that works, so you would have to talk to the staff to find out.
what did they come to you for though?
We have to approve the separation of the units for tax purposes. I think it's 4 units, and they only had 3, 4.
City Assessor, can you speak to what he's talking about? Thank you.
Yeah, I think what the situation was is that part of Cornerstone's office there, there were 3 tax parcels, and I'm pulling from memory, so it's not
I'm
gonna
trying
be
to
perfect.
find it here in the notes.
Part of Cornerstone's office was actually on the same tax parcel as part of that 126 building. And so we had to redraw the parcel lines so that each building was taxed on their own parcels. That makes sense? So it was just a crossing the T's, dotting the I's type of thing.
What they wanted to do is they wanted to sell the building on the corner, but it was part of the entire building. There's about 4 buildings. So they wanted to separate that building off and put it on a separate tax roll.
Yeah, I understand that portion, but the part that they came to you is regarding the tax on it, you say?
No,
Site
the
plan.
separation site plan.
Oh, okay, all right.
We just wanted to make that the building itself match the tax codes or whatever, the boundaries. All right. Any additional?
I don't have any questions. City Manager Ellis, thank you so much, for your report.
Going back to Commissioner Adams' question, if you have a problem, who do you call?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Thank you. I'm sorry. The next thing on the agenda. Okay. The appointment to the Twin Cities Harbor governing body. Whew. All right.
Good evening. So as a result of the Twin Cities Sustainable Harbor Project and the work that has been done with that and the joint municipality meeting that was held on the 22nd of January, one of the charges that is noted in the resolution is, well, and the whole purpose for the resolution was the formation of a working body to oversee this project. So the charge for the community now is to appoint 4 members. It's 30 days, so we have one until like the 22nd of February to appoint 4 members to represent the city of Benton Harbor within this working group. St. Joseph Charter Township, it came out, I think, this week in the newspaper that they have made their appointments. City of St. Joe, I anticipate will be making their appointments next week, and the onus now is on the city of Benton Harbor. Just as something to note, the positions that were appointed to that body from St. Joe Township was the township manager, a township trustee, the township supervisor, and general community member. So now it's going to be up to the city of Benton Harbor to appoint those positions as well.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Yes, to the chair, with that, now, do they have to apply to the clerk for that? Or do we just appoint? Just appoint, okay.
Just appointments.
Go ahead, Commissioner Adams.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, or becomes, I'm looking at St. Joe, and I think they had like 5 people. And the other side had like, it was St. Joe Charter, had about, was there 9, 2, 8, 9, 7, 7, and there's 9 of us. And something about the numbers don't add up to me. And I think that's how we lost our airport. And the gentleman from our Dollar Ride that was just talking about everybody scattering and stuff, but everybody wanting to come in. They must need us. And I get it. I would want you to. If I saw like a jewel that I know it is. My thing is, if they need us, then there shouldn't be members. Why can't it just be a visionary board and Benton Harbor make the decisions? Period.
Do you have any comments that you want to make? Go ahead.
So when they came, I don't know if they came to our meeting or the commission meeting, but they came and presented. I don't know if everyone was here for that, but I know they talked about having the board. And one of the things I do remember that a lot of comments from the citizens is that they didn't feel like Benton Harbor was as involved when they had those pre-meetings that took place, I believe, in 2018 in the summer. So in my opinion, having this board and having people from Benton Harbor on the board, it should ensure that we're represented. I mean, the last thing we want to do is not have a voice and they're having these meetings and we're not represented. So I feel like if we get the, I don't know, you guys said 4 people. I don't know if it's a possibility that those 4 people that are appointed can meet with the citizens and then they can take back the citizens' comments. Because I just remember when they presented, everyone was upset. And the main reason everyone was upset was they didn't feel like the Benton Harbor residents had a lot of say before they, came up with the plan.
That's true. Okay.
Right.
Madam Chair, and thank you, because what you did was reminding me of something. And I think it was like 8 years ago when we entered into an agreement with a couple of communities that came together, and nobody was there that was appointed to represent us at the table when decisions were being made to this very day. But as I saw it happening, I'm like, we need to dissolve ourselves away from it. We need to rescind the resolution that we sent forward to combine ourselves with the communities then out at the college. When we had a large meeting out at the college, we were under emergency state. I think it was Tony Saunders. Yes. But nobody's been there to represent us at the table. I don't say, I'm not a mouse, a cat, a dog to chase my tail. I'm not going in circles. And so you need to understand the history to know why I'm seeing and feeling the way I am. That it's not about how I feel. It's about what I have seen and experienced, where it relates to the city of Benton Harbor and how it affects the residents of Benton Harbor. And I fully understand how they feel. But see, you can put yourself in a position to where you're outvoted when it comes to politics. What happened today in Washington is a perfect example, okay? I'll just leave that at that.
Madam Chair, with all due respect for your historical understanding, this is not then. And just know that you have a city manager and a city staff we've been involved in this process, deeply involved in this process. We made sure that this process came back to this point where the commission and the residents will be involved. We made sure that you all came together for the purpose of getting to know each other, getting to hear each other, to hear about this project.
Okay. And I appreciate that.
And this is just the start.
Okay.
Because we're talking about getting the citizens, the residents involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole revolution of what's going to happen. I can't do it all at one time, but it's all in the plan. You'll hear about it in the retreat.
Madam Chair.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
No, I was here first.
But I'm saying you've spoken already.
I wasn't finished. He was just finishing up his question. I'm rebuttaling.
No, it's not a rebuttal, Commissioner.
No. I need to clarify something.
But I'm saying if you have a question, please ask the question.
It's not a question. It's basically just a statement. We could have been finished already.
Okay.
The mere fact that these other communities that we combined ourselves with in partnership are some of these the same communities. I mean, can't we work from where we are? Why does there have to be a reforming? I guess that's where I am. I'm not stepping or stopping or any type of growth, because it's going to happen. And we will be included, not excluded. And I'm all for growth. I want that clearly understood.
But Madam Chair.
Call her.
Check.
She didn't hear you.
Ma'am, answer her question. There are 3 owners of the port in the river area. They are St. Joseph Township, St. Joseph City, and Benton Harbor. That's why we have to be together.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if this was already stated, but is there equal amount of seats per, so is it 4, 4, and 4?
That's correct.
Okay.
What was that question?
I was just wondering if each community had the same amount of seats. So it's 3, so we have St. Joe Township, St. Joe, and Benton Harbor, so it's 4, 4, and 4.
Yes.
Commissioner
Mm.
If you have a question, come to her. She had a question, Commissioner Okay.
Just for some clarity, because I always like to look and see past my nose where we're really going with this. And I keep hearing that authority word keep popping up. This is not authority. This is just to bring us the municipalities together. But the main focus is authority. I have to say that. I think it's a great idea that we sitting down talking to St. Joe and St. Joe Township about this harbor project, because more property belongs to Benton Harbor than St. Joe and Benton and St. Joe Township. And as we sit here to speak, we talked about this years ago, and they are already implementing some of the things that they talked about already. We have agreed to 2 projects that's in this harbor program. So, as I might have to agree with my gentle lady, it's going to happen. We've seen it progress from the time that they were not including us in the conversation to now. It's going to happen. It's just where we're gonna put ourselves, how we're gonna make our land accessible and what we want on it for our residents. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to show some authority and some balls to take care of our own. But when that authority come up, we're gonna have to have a real serious conversation. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Ms. Kavanaugh, if you have a question.
No, I'll let him go ahead, because it might be answered to what I'm gonna ask.
let me answer the commissioner. She probably forgot. There were 3 options of how we would structure that authority, and then not to structure the governance. There were also structures that allowed certain powers. And what we decided, us all together, the 3 communities, decided is we wanted to have the ability to go and get money. With the first one, there was no ability to get money. With the second one, there was a lot more authority, but not to do some other things. But the one that you all chose is the one to be able to do something. That's why we call it authority. That was the name, the title. That's the one y'all chose.
Contracts and all.
We chose that at the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
It didn't say authority, it only talked about having a governance meeting. Well, I'll get the clerk to send me whatever, y'all got me drunk.
Go ahead, Ms. Kavanaugh. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair, if I may, so I do have right here a copy of the resolution, and 1, 2, the second paragraph just states, whereas it has been recommended that the cities of Benton Harbor and St. Joseph Charter Township form a working group charged with developing a proposal for a harbor governing body that will focus on harbor revitalization. So those options are still on the table, but this group's sole purpose is to take a deeper dive into what it would look like for an authority or a conservancy or whatever that other title was, and then bring it back. So this group, the representatives from Benton Harbor, will bring it back to committee, will bring it back to the full body for you to vote on. But the whole point is to take a deeper dive into those options that were presented.
Okay.
So I have a question, go ahead, Commissioner.
Let me, before we leave, so it's clear. We do not want Benton Harbor to be responsible for the dredging alone of that harbor.
And
if we do, then we can just tell everybody, let us do it.
Barron County's not gonna let us do that, so you don't have to worry about it. They got more boats than we have, they gonna take care of the water.
No.
Come on.
That's a part of the harbor maintenance. So this authority.
That's another fear that they throw on us, that we're afraid that that's gonna happen. Keep the fear, it's not gonna happen.
Okay. Let me say this about fear, okay? I've been to hell and back. I ain't scared of nothing. Okay? Here's what I mean. We have a chance to get involved. We have a chance to improve our community. We have a chance to make those decisions. We have a chance to be involved from the ground up and then bring it back to the commission, bring it back to the people. And then you make your decision. That's all.
Good deal. Good deal.
If you don't want it, you don't want it, but you're gonna have a chance to vote on it.
Right. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Oh, some of my concerns is that when, these things are put forward, usually the plan is already written out and put forward. And we didn't have any knowledge or any input in putting the plan, the setup of the plan, what they have for the land, and we have the biggest portion of the land that will be presented. As a part of the project. And so I look at, they're looking for 4 from each one of the bodies that you all, each one of the communities. And Benton Harbor being predominantly black and those other 2 predominantly white, there's an imbalance to me because those 2 will work together. Whereas it's just our little 4 here, that's 8 against really that 4 when it comes to really developing that to the flavor of what we would want to see. So I just didn't want it to be an imbalance in that area. And I know that, I believe that the city manager is a smart enough man, he has worked with things like this. But I just wanted to have an input as a resident for us to be careful in all of the things that we do and look for the areas that we might fall short in seeing the possibilities of things. This is what I'm thinking of.
So just a minute,
So I'm gonna address that. I understand that, and I feel like, you know, I don't know if I just look at the glass as being half full here, but I feel like whoever we appoint to this, or not necessarily me, but whoever you all appoint to the board, we have to have confidence in those particular people, that they're gonna present what the issues of the Benton Harbor community, and that everyone's gonna be fair. I mean, we can't walk into a situation and thinking, oh, because my skin is brown and yours is not brown, if I have a argument and what my argument makes sense. I mean, these are intelligent people. They have to listen to the argument. They just can't say, oh, man, you know, they look different than I do, so we have to just ignore them. I mean, it's not going to be like that. So I feel like we have to have faith in whoever that's appointed. I mean, I love that you are so involved, Ms. Kennard, so maybe you tell them your opinions and what you think, and then they take it back to the committee. But we need to go into it with a positive attitude and have faith in whoever that is appointed, that they're going to take whatever the citizens want and take those ideas and push for them to be accomplished.
all right.
And let me say this about the imbalance that you think might be there because it's 4, 4, and 4. When it comes back to this council, it's 9. The vote of that group, all we do is bring recommendations. The vote comes with the commission, with their bodies, commissioners and boards. So it has nothing to do with the fact that they are 8 and we're 4.
Yes, I was
That's
just saying.
just recommendations.
Right. But my full confidence is in God, because He don't make mistakes. But and if you look at our past history here in the United States, yes, I stay conscious of things that has happened in the past, and it makes me a little bit more. And I've got age on you that I've seen a lot more than you have, so that's why I'm more, a little bit more sensitive about things.
And I've got age on all of y'all, so I'm more sensitive than any
I
of
think
you.
we're in the same.
Mr. Duncan. Point of order, guys, let's stay focused. Go ahead, Mr. Duncan.
Okay. I've been to hell and back too. The airport.
That's one example.
I go by things I hear. I heard the airport wasn't ours anymore. Well, I kind of got that idea earlier in the meeting. It just something came up, made it sound like the airport didn't belong to Benton Harbor anymore. But if it do, what do we make off of it? Is there any kind of paperwork, some kind of figures that'll show, reflect how much Benton Harbor is actually making off of it? And They said they're in the process of
Expanded.
that's the word I wasn't gonna use, but I'll use it. They're in the process of expanding, but the most important question is, how much does the city of Benton Harbor make off of our airport? And how many of our people work at that airport, our airport? I have to say that since I know it's ours now. How much do we make? Is there some kind of listing? I don't have to get all of that information now, but I'd like to be able to go and get it or be able to hear you guys talk about it, because I never hear you guys say anything about the airport unless you're going out there to do some little small event or something. So if we're not making anything on it, this is a new day, and I think we should. And I hope I get you guys to agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. There's a monthly airport authority board meeting. I sat on that meeting once, and they do have all kinds of financials and information. I think Commissioner Singleton also sat on that board. I'm not sure who sits on it now.
I am the member, and the Economic Development Director is the alternate. And one thing that I will make sure of, I've heard this question before, in our budget, and we're getting ready to go into budgets now, you'll be able to identify all of your revenue sources. And from those revenue sources, looking at those revenue sources, you'll be able to see how much the airport brings in.
Through the chair, will those reflect the past as well as the immediate future?
What's that? I'm sorry.
The budget process has not been put in place yet, but the way I like to do budgets, at least go back 5 years and then bring it up to the current history and project even 5 years out.
Do they owe us money from the past?
I can't answer that.
Past use?
I can't answer that tonight, man.
Okay.
So he'll have, can you get,
an update from him?
City manager will give you an update, because he actually sits on that committee. We have to, I cannot, we have like.
Madam Chair, okay,
eight other,
but can you
I cannot.
get them to come and give a report?
They will be.
They will.
Okay, that was just a question.
Let me say, so you know, all of the outside committees will be coming as the committees came tonight.
Yeah.
So you'll be hearing all of them.
Good. It's going to be expanded.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda, so the recommendations, so I would make a recommendation that our city manager sits on that governing board, if that's something you would like to do.
Oh, yes.
Do you have any?
You need a citizen rep too,
I
right?
understand, but I'm saying, do you have any other recommendations that we can take to the full body? And if that needs to be changed, Commissioner Henry, would you like to sit on that?
No, I just like to know, I see the copy,
No.
and it's been crossed out for certain things, and I'm asking if that's what we approved.
Yeah.
We crossed out all of that, chief executive, we crossed all that out, and now we're gonna put it back in? Oh, you're not, I got you. Okay, so you're gonna put that language in this resolution, and we're gonna approve it as, well, how we gonna do this is crossed out?
So we're making a recommendation, and I guess once we make a recommendation, then they'll have a resolution for us to approve.
We're redrafting.
Right now, all we're doing is making,
Right.
all we're doing is making a recommendation of
Okay.
people to sit on the committee. Right now, my recommendation is the city manager, Ms. Warren, as a citizen rep,
And the
economic development director.
And then we'll
What
pick
about
a
a
citizen.
commissioner?
Is there a commissioner?
One commissioner.
Are you gonna be able to come to the meetings, Commissioner Harrison? I'm gonna have to ask.
You sure we need
You gonna
some
make,
loyal
are you
people?
gonna make the meetings? We want somebody that's gonna be consistent if there's emergency.
Yes.
say there's an emergency.
I'd like to sit on it.
Okay, Commissioner Harrelson wants to serve on that, committee. That's for, do we need an alternate,
A citizen.
alternate citizen?
Need a citizen, period.
No, we have a citizen,
Oh, wait, you do.
Ms. Warren's gonna sit
Miss
on it.
Adams recommended me.
I'll be an alternate.
She forgot.
So if we, need an alternate,
I'll be glad to be an
no,
alternate.
Mr. Duncan said he wants to be an alternate.
If I can.
Alternate
If
citizen
not,
rep.
it's okay too.
Ms. Kennard sits on everything.
That's all right.
That's why I said she sits on everything, and I appreciate that.
I can make you, y'all can.
All right, there we go. And so we'll take that to the full board. So do we move to, this board moves to move that item forward?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is the alternate dates for the March board review. City assessor. It's on. It's on.
So this resolution is the same resolution that I brought before you last year. It is just a formality, but what it allows to do is that the law states that the March board review shall meet the Monday following the Tuesday following the first Monday in March, something like that. Our city charter actually says something completely different, and that puts it like back in April or May, which is way too late to have it. So we're just kind of covering our bases all over the place by passing a resolution to have an alternate start date.
Any comments or questions? All right, we're about to move this item forward to the full commission. Next item on the agenda is establishment of income limits and asset test for 2020. I think that's you as well.
Again, this is just a formality, but we do need to adopt a guideline for income as far as the board review. Yes, as far as the board review and when they consider a hardship exemption, which would be an exemption that would be just for 1 year, to either lower or get rid of altogether somebody's property taxes. So this gives them a guideline to a threshold for the board review when they're considering that hardship exemption. They can look at the person's income, the size of their family, and determine whether or not they meet that criteria to be eligible for a hardship. And again, this is something that we are required to do on an annual basis, so I'll continue this time every year to bring it to you for adoption.
Has this been changed at all? Is this one the same, the income limits?
The income changes a little bit from year to year as the federal numbers, okay, that are put out. And so that's what we did last year, and I believe the city, even before I was here, the city adopted whatever the federal numbers were. And the commission, just to let you know, the commission can change those numbers. We don't have to have the federal numbers. So you can change them, but you are not allowed to make it harder for the people to qualify. So you cannot, in essence, what that would do is you cannot raise those incomes, but you may lower them. Okay.
Any questions? That's good, thank you.
I just have a quick comment. You must have been speaking with Attorney Hearns regarding the alternate dates for the board of review. I will say that MCL 211.302 says the governing body of the city or township may authorize by adoption of an ordinance or resolution alternative starting dates in March when the board of review shall initially meet, which alternate starting date shall be the Tuesday or Wednesday following the second Monday of March, right?
Right.
So that's
right. This just covered us for that, because our city charter does say something like April or May, which is way beyond county equalization and the state
The
equalization,
charter
and that doesn't
probably
work.
is-
I'm sorry?
This is relatively new, so it's not, the charter isn't caught up or amended with the
Current,
the
yeah, right.
current law.
Right.
We'll move this forward. Consensus. Next, we have on the resolution accepting letters of protest from the city resident for March of 2020.
So what this one is that, again, the law allows, for non-residents only to appeal by letter. What this resolution does is it opens up to, city residents as well to be able to write in a letter to the March Board of Review instead of, appealing in person. And that comes in handy for people who, you know, if they work or something and can't make the meetings, or if they're out of town, or simply they just have a hard time getting out and getting down here, it opens up the door for them to be able to appeal by letter as well.
I think it's good.
Good. Questions? All right, we move that forward. Next, we have discussion, temporary moratorium on issuance of certain permits, sign permits.
Well, I think that was something that I suggested that we put on this agenda meeting at some point to remind the city that the moratorium was approved and voted on in September. It's a 6-month moratorium. So that, and the whole point of that moratorium was really for the billboards and off-premise advertising signs, which is what we're dealing with in Adams right now. And I believe Chairman Lee from the Planning Commission mentioned the master plan, and the sign ordinance language is covered in the zoning ordinance. But as everyone knows, the Planning Commission makes recommendations to amend the zoning ordinance to the City Commission. So it's a group project. So there needs to but it needs to be done in conjunction with the master plan, whether it's the current master plan or whether it's an amended master plan, so that the city wants to be able to make a determination of where it's going to allow billboards, if it's going to allow digital billboards versus the static or more traditional billboards, how many billboard permits it will allow in the city, where they're going to be allowed in the city, if at all. We've got that 6 months, which is up in March. We can do we can extend that for another 6 months, but we really should start talking about where, if at all, we want billboards. If we want to limit it to the existing billboards that we have, do we want to state that we're limiting to the existing billboards, and that if a billboard is abandoned or taken down, then the number then diminishes by that number. So if we had 6 billboards in the city, but if one is abandoned or removed, then we only allow 5, or we want to keep the 6. So I wanted to put that up there just so it didn't get forgotten about, and so the city can think about those things.
Yes, to the chair, now, we still working on an ordinance for this? Is the ordinance, I know we don't have one in place, right? We just putting this.
We don't, and that's right, and the moratorium was put in place so that the city could come up with, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, so that the committee and the commission can start talking about it. And because I can draft an ordinance, but I'd like some input, so that I don't just create an ordinance that doesn't meet what the city needs or wants.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question would be for the city attorney through the chair. What you're asking for is an extension or to, start a new process of the same moratorium for the same purpose for another 6 months? And if so, because it's about to expire, 6 months is almost up. So we need to renew that or have it prepared for renewal upon expiration and moving forward. It's something that we can eliminate at any time if we decide.
Right, so unless we have a new sign ordinance ready to go, and something that's been vetted by and talked about with the committee and through the commission, then yeah, I think it's something that we're going to need to put in front of the city commission for a vote to continue that, because we just can't indefinitely have a moratorium.
Okay, so before we can actually start drafting an ordinance through the chair, we actually need to be working on a master plan to actually see exactly where we're going to allow. I'm not sure, and it just dawned on me when I was hearing him talk. The train track used to be there because the train used to be through there. And I think Adams has been in business for a long time, or somebody. There used to be a big old billboard sign up, is it still there? Right at the creek, right before you cross the creek, where the skating ring used to be right there. It used to be a real big, huge one. Is it still there? Do they own that? I mean, we have to be mindful of things like that, that will take my little bitty business and cover my little bitty sign up. No, I'm trying to be seen too.
And so
I mean, we have to be mindful of stuff like that.
Right, and that's one of the things that I think as the commissioners and members of the committee, you know your city better than anybody.
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful of where the current billboards are.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the city records, the storage of this, of billboard permits and applications and are scant. There are not many. We've been searching, for purposes of the litigation and we're not finding, we can only go back a few years.
No inventory, or somebody probably paid somebody in a different form or manner.
A lot of the records were lost in the transitioning between the buildings and the floods.
We had an EFM that shredded some stuff too. So,
That could be.
okay, all right. So we just gotta take it from here and make a decision, but definitely we want to renew upon expiration. Thank you.
I think the purpose here is for us to do something about this ordinance. We put a moratorium on it and it sit there. Now we're gonna extend it and we need to put it on the agenda. Ask the attorney to give us background information that he's got about this issue and make some decisions. I mean, we need to kick the can down the road sometime. And we need to start kicking this can down until we come up with a good ordinance that's gonna help the citizens of Benton Harbor and the business owners.
I agree. So my recommendation, city attorney, is that you do a draft and send it to us and let us look at that draft and let us decide, because this is not my area of expertise. I can tell you, like, as Commissioner Adams said, we don't want to cut signs covering up smaller businesses and just too large and stuff like that, but in conjunction with what's going on already in our master plan, but drafting an ordinance of how signs should look inside a city. We don't want big, large, glaring signs within our city to cover up our city. So those are some of the parameters that we are looking at. But if you draft one.
Well, so, but where are places in the city that you would want or you would find acceptable billboards and sizes and because I could, or how many would you would you like any additional, or is there a number specific?
I don't want to see billboards in my neighborhoods. I just don't. I don't think our neighborhoods need to have big billboards and signs.
But there's and that's why, working with the planning commission,
right?
Small marquees.
It's do you want them in the business, the central business district, the general business district? There's heavy industrial, there's light industrial, And so I just wanted to, my point of putting this on was that, so that I was hoping that the members of the planning commission were still here, because it needs to get on their, on their
So can we
radar as
add this
well.
to their agenda?
Let me make a suggestion, if I may. Have you been able to identify anywhere where the signs are?
Well, I know there's an Adams billboard that's on
On the river?
on the marquee right there on the river. There's a couple wall signs that are attached to some of the buildings that are on, right off of Main Street.
What I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is see if we can get an inventory of where they are and what kind of signs we have currently before we go talking about anywhere else. Probably can do it with my public works staff, maybe the police, combination of the two as they see them, write them down, bring them back.
So for next, so just so that I'm clear, so for our next meeting, we'll have an inventory of our
Have an
signs.
inventory of where
Okay.
they are and what they look like.
Okay, just very
I'm sorry,
quickly.
Commissioner, you were done.
No, I just wanna say another thing, that's great, the background information it gives us opportunity, but, a couple of years, no, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, a group of ladies came together and talked about the signs on the stores and the liquor stores and different things, and they asked us to do something, we didn't do anything, and I want us to have that on radar too, when we deal with the information that our attorney brings to us, so we can vet it.
What we can legally do to eliminate some of them on those businesses. But through the chair.
We didn't do nothing.
Just a suggestion, with what city manager was saying, while we're out and about in the community, pay more attention to where the signs are. Definitely take a trip down Main Street, up that way, and you can see the whole Main Street, and you can pretty much get a view of what would be acceptable and inviting to the eye when you're coming down Main Street. But for the communities, those little small marquees, and people don't go out of the way really in neighborhoods, but I guess if we don't put a stop to it and have some paperwork on it, they probably will try. But I'm reminded of the Brownfield Authority. When we allowed some redevelopment to go on, we had some signs made and had them placed at the properties, but it's nothing that out of range to where it was. But you just take a good look at what the sign looks like and you get an idea of where we go. So just when you're out and about between now and the time that we make this decision, just pay close attention and let us help take that inventory, that's all.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
So 6 more months.
Well, we have to, I mean, it's something that. So, I don't know, city manager.
March 15th, you say? Oh, we're talking about coming back.
Yeah, I thought we were coming back with information. Yeah, we're
coming
coming
back.
back
Yeah,
at the
we're
next
coming
meeting
back.
with, and at that time, we'll determine if we need to do a moratorium. So we're gonna do an inventory sign for our next, inventory.
All right. Yeah,
For
see,
the next meeting.
see what the
How
number of
many
billboards we
numbers?
have is that all the signage that you want, if we can get the, who's ever doing that inventory to take some pictures so that we have an idea of whether it's a pole sign, sitting on a monopole, or whether it's a wall sign, meaning it's attached to a building. That'll, I think, be useful information for the city so that they can decide what you like and what you don't like. Because you don't want me making that decision.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you. The next item is the discussion about, recreation marijuana ordinance.
Okay, so Michigan's, it's called the Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, also known as the Adult Use Medical Marijuana or Recreational Marijuana. Just kind of a quick, bullet points on what the statute or the act does not authorize. It doesn't authorize operating or being in physical control of any vehicle, boat, etc. Doesn't authorize the transfer to a person under the age of 21. anyone under 21, it doesn't authorize anyone under the age of 21 to possess, consume, purchase, obtain, grow, process, transport, or sell, recreational marijuana. It doesn't authorize consuming in a public place, right? So just because you can't go out and still smoke or have an edible, and you can't smoke where it's prohibited by the owner or the occupier, the manager of the property that you're located. Unless, if you're an apartment manager, you still can't, you can prohibit the smoking of marijuana, you can't prohibit the other ways to ingest or to use, meaning oils, edibles, tinctures, the sprays, that sort of thing. So those are all the things, you can grow it at home, you can have it at home, you can only have so much at home, up to 2.5 ounces, unless if you have more than 2.5 ounces, anything over the 2.5 ounces has to be locked or enclosed. You can grow your own, but it has to be in a secure location, and it can't be visible from the outside. And that's something that, whether or not we have an ordinance or not in the city of Benton Harbor, that's allowed throughout the state. So not having an ordinance or having an ordinance with recreational marijuana doesn't affect that at all. What we're trying to do now is control the business aspect of it.
That's correct.
And so we have medical marijuana. We have, we've authorized processors, provisioning centers, secure transporters, and testing facilities and processors. Adult use marijuana has essentially the same, but they add micro business, which is you can grow up to, well, micro business is you can grow up to 150 plants. You can process it, you can package it, and you could sell it to like a retail store, but you can't sell it to processors. You can't sell it to other marijuana establishments. The growers licensed A, B, and C, but there's A's are 100 plants versus medical marijuana is 500, and so there's numbers are a little, well, a C class grower for adult use is 2,000 versus medical is 15. B growers for adult use are 500 versus the medical marijuana B growers 1,000. We're also allowing something related to where you can go and smoke marijuana or ingest it. But you can't buy it there. You can't smoke tobacco there, and you can't drink there. Better not drive back. So I don't know if that's something that the city of Benton Harbor wants to have. One of the things that the prohibitions that the statute says is that any of these medical marijuana establishments can't be located within areas zoned exclusively for residential for use, and not within 1,000 feet of a pre-existing public or private school, K through 12, unless Benton Harbor reduces that distance requirement. So the city can say, oh, well, 1,000 feet is too far.
Same thing.
We want to have, 500 or whatever it is. Again, that's something that the city will need to decide whether or not what it wants to do, where they want to be in which zoning districts, what kind of limitations you want. And I do want to say that the adult use applicant, there's some ineligibility requirements that the emergency rules have in place. So right now, an applicant is ineligible to receive a state license for adult use if the applicant does not already hold a medical marijuana license for a processor, provisioning center, Class B, Class C, or marijuana marijuana secure transporter. So if they don't have a medical marijuana license to sell it, they're not gonna be able to get from the state a recreational license, at least not until December 6th of 2021. So it's only, unless they're gonna do it, be a class A grower or a micro business or one of those designated consumption establishments, and they don't already have a medical marijuana permit from the state, they're not gonna be able to do anything for 2 years. So you're really limited to who you've already allowed to act within the city.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I think, unfortunately, we're running out of space within the city, and buildings in the city so we're gonna be, they're gonna be allowed to have stack licenses. So the city has to decide, well, okay, how many are we gonna allow licenses per building? How many licenses of each or permits of each do we want in addition for recreational purposes? Because at this moment, medical marijuana can't be sold for adult use purposes. So if you're going to go into a medical marijuana establishment, you have to have that medical marijuana card. And I know that we are just a few weeks away from having the applications for provisioning centers in front of the city commission. And so once those 4 out of 14 or so are approved, then it's just a quick wait to get them approved by the planning commission again, and then they should be ready to go. So we should have something ready to go so that those individuals or those entities can be, if they want to be able to apply, can. I don't think they're going to go anywhere because they're already going to be here. All of the tax incentives that are for medical marijuana are gone because it's sunsetted after the adult use. And so it's adult use now is only, there's an excise tax and a sales tax, 10% sales tax, excise tax, I'm sorry, and the 6% sales tax. And that's only for the retailer, meaning like the provisioning center version and the micro business. So that money, that 10% and that sales tax goes to the regulatory fund. And then that money comes back to the municipalities, 15% of those funds so the first 20 million goes towards education and roads. And then then after that, then 15% of what's left comes to the cities. So we want to make sure that if the city is going to have some tax money coming in, that we need to at least have some sort of retail or micro business within the city, because otherwise granted there's going to be money coming in for the roads. I just read that in the 2 months that we've had adult use being sold in Michigan, that there's about $2.7 million in revenue from excise and sales tax. But there's only 44 total permits that have been given. 1 in Berrien County, which is down in Niles. I think 2 in Van Buren County, a couple in Battle Creek, nothing in Lansing, nothing in Grand Rapids, a couple in Jackson, and the rest have been on the other side of the state. So it's slow, but it's starting to. So, and I provided a couple of draft copies of some ordinances that some cities have had. They're talking about unifying the adult use of medical marijuana rules in one set. That hasn't been done yet. So I've seen ordinances that are unifying, and I'm seeing ordinances that are adult use specific and medical marijuana specific. I think until the state has unified it And for simplification purposes for now, I think we should have, keep the medical marijuana ordinance that we have. If we want to amend it, we can do that. But create maybe a simplified adult use medical marijuana ordinance that doesn't create such a hardship on the staff for review purposes, because the ordinance that we have for medical marijuana asks the applicant to provide the city all of the information that the state requires. And right now, when the department heads are reviewing those medical marijuana applications, we're getting a binder, that's inches thick. And it takes time, and it's hard for an applicant to make all of those requirements. Of course, they're gonna have to do it for the state. So the argument for our ordinance is, well, if they get approved by us, it's gonna be easy for them to get through the state. So at the beginning, a lot of applicants from the state were getting rejected. They were getting easily approved by the cities because they were 2, 3, 4 pages long, nothing, but they all got rejected. And so that's the one good thing about our medical marijuana ordinance. So just, I guess, let me know if you have any questions about, comments about the ordinances, if there's, what kind of establishments that you want in the city, where you want them, how many of each, and I can throw something together for you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Commissioner Ison, did you have any questions?
Yes. So yes, we really want to put something simplified together. We want to be ready, when this businesses come, if they get approved. So we will need to figure out how many provision centers we need.
Well, so it's under adult use, they're called retailers.
Okay.
And then, micro business, those are the two big ones as far as the excise tax and the sales tax. Do we want, and a grower, so because medical marijuana growers aren't going to be allowed to, they're not going to be allowed, I think, to be able to provide medical marijuana for recreational purposes. So. I don't know what I'm talking about.
City Manager, do you have anything else to add before we take questions?
No, not right now.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And every time this comes up, I don't know, I'm not gonna go in too far back in the past, but it just really upsets me because I know that this was going to be a long process with the applications that I saw that some of these people that came forward had to fill out. And for us to be this far behind, we were the first community. All we got was negative press. But everybody else around us that's up and making the money has been getting positive press. But it's okay. We're on our way. Because our schools are in trouble and some other things are as well. What I would like to see, and just a suggestion, is what I said from the very beginning, knowing that recreational marijuana was going to be approved by the smokers of the great state of Michigan. And here we are. And I think that we are sitting in a right spot to keep it contained, to not allow it to get out of hand. So where our children or somebody sitting in these very seats somewhere in Benton Harbor complaining about that y'all allowing all them signs and stuff. Can't you take some of them down? No, we can fix that right now by allowing those that have already been approved or will be approved for whatever recreational does. I think that they should be given that opportunity. And my question for our city attorney through the chair is, do we have the right, or can we actually charge them the amount or more for them to apply with the city for recreation? Or do they still have to pay that same amount with the state?
Well, the city application fee is up to $5,000 per application fee, and then they have their own application fee and licensing monies that have to be paid to the state.
Okay, so now if we do it this way, the easy way, we can earmark those funds because they've already been approved, already been through all of that, right?
So with those funds, the application fees have to go towards the administration.
Yeah, we not going through all that because we should have been finished. I mean no disrespect, but I'm sure if that's the case, we're well over that being spent. Are we spending our general money, dollars out of our general dollars now? Of what's still going on with these applications? Because 5,000 probably should have been a real good, nice finish up on the applications, and we should have had them. Because if that's the case, I want an answer. Are we spending money out of our general fund to complete the completion of these applications that we're waiting for? Because we shouldn't be. Over $100,000 was well over enough. Actually, too much. We should have been able to do something else with it. Okay.
The money that was, the $5,000 is supposed to go to the administration, all of the administration to get to the point of getting the license.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask the question again. All of the administration have been done. If we allow just those that have the applications that have already been approved for recreational, for medical marijuana, and if we allow just them, the recreational licenses, everybody that wants to smoke, like to smoke, they can have a certain amount at home anyway. They can grow their own. And then they have a choice. And then they know what they're getting because it's been grown by some professionals. And then the medication part of it, I don't know, what would that look like? Allowing them to stack their license, because that is possible, right? Yes. Okay, so
what was your question again?
the question is, what can we, if we allow those that have already been, once we start approving them, allow those that already have a license that are eligible for recreation, no marijuana. Once we get the ordinance together and everything, allow those that have already been approved. So how much could administrative costs be for that?
You're saying reapply for recreational, right?
No, I'm not saying reapply. They have to apply, period.
Well, yeah.
For, yes, with the state. But they have to apply with us too, right?
Yes.
Right, and they have to pay that same amount that they pay for recreational, for medical, right?
Yes.
Medical marijuana. So there's no possible way that it would cost that much that we can't earmark some of those dollars to do something else that needs to be done.
It still has to be voted on, Commissioner.
Huh?
It still has to be voted on with the commission.
I know,
Okay.
I know, I'm just, when we get to that point, I'm
Okay.
just asking a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
You
I
got a couple more questions
just like.
behind you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Henry.
Oh, okay.
I just want us to be aware that there is a social equity program, and it is for our residents. So if you allow $1 million people, and that's who's here with recreation, because you gotta be very rich to get a license to grow medical. And then allow them to take over the recreational, it leaves nothing for the residents. And the state is lowering their fees and their requirements, well, not requirements, but definitely their fees. And we should find some way to help our citizens get involved in this. encourage them. We already know by looking at that income level that the majority of our people are below the federal guideline. And we need to, well, I'm not gonna go there. Yeah, I am, I'm gonna say, what God wants us to do is to take care of the poor. If we all just sit up in here and gladly to have whatever God blessed us with and don't take care of the downtrodden and the people that need help, shame on us.
So my question is, to you, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, plenty recommendation.
Oh, a recommendation for the amount?
Yeah.
All you need is remember we had a conversation, say what you want. Mean what you say what you want.
Well, I'll just talk about one thing that I'm having a problem with right now.
No, I'm saying, what is your recommendation?
I'm gonna recommend something right now. The problem, because it started with a problem. I step out the house and I smell skunk everywhere. And I don't like that. I'm looking for the skunk, but it is not a skunk. It's a plant. And somebody's growing it and they're growing a lot of them. So now how do we control that? I think, now I do know that medical marijuana, you have to use some kind of ozone to cut the odor down. I would like to see that same thing done for the recreational growers. I don't want them to have that kind of aroma out in the public. Because as soon as my grandkids say, what is that smell? What am I gonna tell them?
It's grand.
So that's one little issue that there's right now visible in my face, but there's quite a few other little things that we need to kick around on this recreational.
But again, what is your recommendation for amount for lower fees for residents? You said, you made a suggestion, and I'm not disagreeing with you. What is your recommendation for the amount?
We don't.
So that when we put a resolution together, we can say, this is something for consideration, and then we can go from there.
We don't have a ordinance on this, so this is all new. So we can say $5 to a Benton Harbor resident to get a permit. Oh, I'm just saying, it's nothing, this is all new, so we can say $100.
Maybe,
say,
what about 500? What if you do 500?
What I'm just saying, we can say anything we want, but we still have to remember who we dealing with. Low income residents.
Instead of the $5,000 application fee.
No, I think.
You can grow up to 12 plants though.
But if you're doing a micro business, you're gonna have a lot more, you're gonna have 150. So what the commissioner was talking about was a social equity program,
Right.
correct? So they could do a micro business.
That's what we're talking about. What was her suggestion? So if you have a suggestion.
I'm saying low, I'm saying it should be affordable to somebody that's income is $9,800 a year. That's our average income in Benton Harbor. So when we sit around and say, well, we got $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 coming in a month. Here's people that's getting just $9,000 a whole year. Now these might not be the ones that do it, but we're all connected to each other. So when I get a little extra, I have to help those ones that don't have it. So we have to help our residents become sustainable in this recreational opportunity. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I came before this committee, I guess it was over a month ago, I had submitted an ordinance which was both combined, medical and adult use. I'm not sure if you ever got it. It is pretty streamlined. Just recently, Muskegon passed both ordinances, so there is an ordinance out there. In addition to that, yes, you do have to have a medical license in any form before you can become adult use recreational, but the community also has to opt in. that is where we can take advantage of the social equity programs. And the fees and the licensing are deliberately set low. You can't necessarily go and set a lower than what the state has mandated. But you can, for instance, there's a $6,000 non-refundable fee. But under the social equity, there are incentives where if you've lived in the area for more than 5 years, you get 25% off of that. If you've been affected, if you've been arrested with a marijuana charge, you can get an additional 25% off. If you've been a medical caregiver or a grower of marijuana for medical patients, just individual, you can get an additional 10% off that. So you can get up to 60% off of that initial license. The other licensing under the social equity program are the micro businesses where you can grow 150. I believe the license after that is $1,000. You can do consumption where you can go and consume cannabis. That's only a $500 license. You can do a public event. It could be from 1 day to 7 days. I believe that's only $500. So these prices have already been set low for the average Joe to try to get in on this cannabis game, so to speak. The industries that are set up here have invested a lot of money, and it is on behalf of using the resources, the human resources within this city. There is this fallacy that these companies have millions and millions of dollars, and a lot of these companies are startups. So, and if there's no provisioning center where you can actually make the money, then you're bleeding costs. Right now, there's a company that has, I believe, gone through all of the measures. And the thing is that yes, once you provision, if you can give them provisioning license, then that's 14 there's maybe 14 jobs right there within the center. Once the growth center is ready, will be in October, the one on El Rico Road, we're talking about another at least 65 to 300. We're talking about 65 to 300 residents of this community or the surrounding community who will then be able to provide. That's going to then bring along collar jobs. That's going to bring along other businesses that will open up. That will open up an identity for Benton Harbor. Benton Harbor, I believe, needs a new industry, and they're right here, right now. The jobs are right here, right now. So when you talk about a $9,000 per capita, that can be raised right now. I would really hope that this commission would really start to move forward and allow those companies that are coming in under the medical establishment to have the opportunity. So if you opt in, yes, I agree with Commissioner Adams, let them have the opportunity to then go adult use. That's where the money you can start earmarking, you can create a budget based on the excise tax, which is 10%. The more establishments that you have at retail under the adult use, the more the percentage you're going to get from the state. So if you've got 5 provisioning centers or dispensaries or whatever the case may be under the adult use, that's more money that's going to come into that community. Right. It could be a poor performing dispensary, but it's there. They're going to automatically get that excess tax. And that's where you can create your budgets, where you can earmark for your schools, for your cities, for education, or whatever the case may be. So it's already set up, but if the commission, you can just go ahead and let's do this and allow these provisioning centers. I know you've got some votes coming up, and I guess there's some presentations coming up. Please let these companies, and I believe there's also a local born and bred company who's trying to come in under the social equity. I don't want to mention any names, but they are present and they're trying to get licensing as well for a micro business. This is a homegrown person who's been trying to get open as well. We've had communications, and they've been trying to get open as well, along with this company that I represent now. But once we get the provisioning centers open and the retail, then opt in on that adult use, and you're going to see some significant changes for the better for all of Benton Harbor. And you can create your budget and earmark whatever you need based on the excess tax for the recreational marijuana.
I think Ms. Warren had some comments and questions.
I feel like I kind of addressed my comments to the commissioner. I agree with what you were saying regarding social equity. And I do agree that if we can lower the city application fee for social equity, we should do it for residents. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. I got you. I was just over there.
Go ahead, Ms. Canal.
2 times in 1 day.
You know, I'm not short of speaking my mind. Now I hear a whole lot of things, and I know some will be angry with me. And we're talking about recreational marijuana. First came the medical, and now we're dealing with the recreational. We got so much recreational on the street that you can just get high with a car passing by you, a contact eye. We should be so much more involved in trying to get these children a good education so they can get good job, make good decisions. What I'm thinking about, yeah, they said this will open up jobs, but how many is gonna be able to get jobs if they have to get tested to see if they haven't got some kind of marijuana or something in their system? How many are gonna be able to even pass getting a job? So all money is not good money. We got to think in the long term about what these children, yeah, I'm old fashioned, outdated and everything, and people got to have social and release or whatever this marijuana gives them. I've never had any before, but it seems like it's so much put in here. We trying to build our community, but if everybody's lit, because I'd be lit too with the smell of all the marijuana and won't be the smoked any. We've got to get a cap on this here thing and think about these children that's coming up. That's the reason I resigned from the planning commission, because the marijuana issue came so strong, and I am a grower of vegetables. And I don't want them to say I was on a board and they passed this and you're just as much a problem as anybody else. In the long run, I promise you, it's gonna bring more problems than it is any results. Sure, it'll provide jobs to a certain extent, but the biggest benefit is gonna be the guy at the top. He's gonna get the big money. And the rest gonna be lit, they won't even care. So you can get upset with me, baby, it's okay. But this is my opinion. That's gonna create more problems than it is gonna solve them. So we got to think of this recreational, it's gonna bring this amount of money. So they'll be so lit that they won't know how much money it brought anyway. We're gonna still have a impoverished community because they're gonna be so lit. So let's not concentrate so much on bringing in this recreational marijuana. The medical part of it, I don't want to have any part of that either. And it might be good for somebody in different conditions and everything. I just said for me, I don't want to have anything to do with it. But this recreational marijuana, the jobs that it's going to create the money that it's going to really benefit is the man at the top, at the big grower. But we're still going to be a suffering community because we're not going to be able to make clear decisions because they're going to be so mellowed out and having such a ball, they chilling. They won't even know what time of day it is. So this is just the way I feel. Anybody can get mad at me if they want to, it's okay. But this is my opinion, you can't change it.
So if I just make a suggestion that at some point soon, if the city commission wants to put recreational marijuana on the agenda to discuss, and if they vote to have, if they want to discuss the number of licenses, the permits available where, and the what ifs, and they want to direct me to prepare a draft ordinance, I can do that.
So what I would like to do from this committee to make a recommendation, and then you put that together, and then we bring it before the commission, because we don't have anything to recommend, then there's nothing, it'll just be another discussion.
I'll just leave blanks for.
No. Yes, yeah, we're gonna make some recommendations, and then we'll take it to the full body, because if there's nothing to recommend, there's no reason to have another discussion. So 1,000 feet, that was the one thing we had a concern about. So, and I had that wrote down. Distance from schools were the two questions.
Mm-hmm.
With the micro retailers, maybe city manager, you can speak to that piece of it. real quick, so we can make a recommendation, so we can put that in the ordinance, it could come back to the, at the next, committee meeting, so they can vet it again, and then goes back to the commission.
Well, just remember about 1,000 feet, city has the option to lower that amount.
Right, that's what we were asking, what does that look like?
Now, let me tell you that from the 2,000 foot version of whatever it is. 1,000 feet means nothing to Detroit. 1,000 feet kills Benton Harbor,
Oh.
okay? Think about it.
But the problem we have, and I don't disagree with that at all, the ordinance that we have in place now for medical is 1,000 feet from schools and residential districts, and I think 500 feet from churches.
So I feel like medical, we should keep it. I mean, medical is a large area. We're talking about 2,000 plants. That should, in my opinion, that should be 1,000 feet. But for recreational, especially if we're talking about the micro business, I mean, that's a smaller operation, 150 plants. So I feel like we have an opportunity to lower the feet on recreational.
You talking about the fee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your choice.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you can do that if you want for the micro business, and then you can have different setbacks for various licenses. You know, if you have the Class C growers are 2,000.
So can we do that, put that in the ordinance, with those fees, so we wanna lower that to 500 for micro. We wanna lower that, that's the recommendation from this committee, 500. Yeah.
And Tim, are we gonna entertain a compassion club or a smoke den?
So we right now, we're just looking at the ordinance.
Well, the ordinance.
That's part of the ordinance.
It can allow for they call them the designated consumption establishments, or
How many?
Many we decide.
So one of the things the attorney spoke about that I wasn't 100% clear, I don't know if you call it a smoke facility, you were saying the person can smoke there, but they couldn't drive away from there? Is that what I understood?
well, technically, because any level of THC
So
in your
I'm
system.
just thinking, what, I mean.
Well, you go to the bar and
But the
drink.
bar is different, you have a blood alcohol level. We're saying it's a similar.
Well, right now, the statute is any level of THC in your
Which is
system.
different than alcohol then.
Right.
Because alcohol, you have a level, so if I
Right.
have one cocktail, I can drive home. But we're saying that if you have you
Right.
can't, you can't get home. I mean, well.
saying.
Walk, I guess.
That's
Walk home. Yeah,
Uber.
okay.
So.
That's a business or somebody.
That's what I'm.
That was a question, Chairman.
We're legalizing something. Now they're going to jail for driving.
Call me. That'll be the name of the business, call me.
Yeah.
No.
We,
Black, call
I
me.
don't know, I just feel like we have to
Rough
be
draft.
careful there, because we don't wanna have now these
Ooh, Lord.
and now they're getting on this. Please wait.
Only in America, you know?
What y'all saying up there?
No.
So we're actually, we just make a
Thinking about
recommendation, so,
Change the feet, it can be away from.
three,
For the smoke.
for smoke facilities,
Designated.
designated smoke facilities, three.
Okay. I was gonna take a bite of that.
And when I'm sorry, attorney, when we talk about a retailer, I wanna make sure I'm crystal clear. We're including the micro business in that number, or is that two different?
Two different. Retailer is different than a micro.
Cause a micro you can't sell.
Because a micro, you can sell, grow, process, package.
Mhm.
So it's kind of more.
It's like a kind of one-stop shop.
It's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And they don't. They still have to take it to like the testing facility, but
Mhm.
yeah.
City manager, do you have any recommendations for that?
You
So
can't sell to
retailers-
growers.
When you say three, you want to also identify the neighborhoods probably, and you're probably talking about downtown.
I like.
Yeah,
We're talking about
downtown.
commercial
Yeah.
and light industrial.
Yes.
commercial and light industrial
It's
for
already been
those.
zoned.
Thank you, y'all. Come on, help us real quick so we
It's
can.
been already zoned.
No, but I'm saying,
No,
we
we're
need y'all
talking about
help. So right
recreation.
now, we having a discussion so we can present an ordinance. Else it don't have to go through this part. We're trying to get numbers. So you in this committee today, y'all helping us form this ordinance. So he'll have something to take to the commission to vote on.
He
So
already said it.
yeah, but no.
So, yeah.
Follow the
we're good.
template of the.
No, he's
of the
asking
medical
us for
marijuana.
our city, Commissioner. For our city is specific. That's what we're trying to get to specific things.
Well,
We
yes.
want 3 smoke facilities in industrial and business sector. So we got
Commercial
that.
and light industrial.
And light industrial.
So we're gonna keep that.
We're gonna keep that. So
we got
retailers.
that. Retailers, let's talk
Shoot
retailers.
away. We need.
6.
No.
Retail, actually, but the more, she says 6, which is not a bad number, because from an adult use recreational perspective, that is more excess tax that will come from the state. And just to clear up any fallacies, these provisioning centers or these retail centers are going to be oriented towards those people who have a certain income. There's not gonna be an excess of more people being high or anything like that, because a lot of times the prices that come out of these retail centers kind of go above and beyond the black market. I don't know where that's gonna go in terms of the black market, what it will do is that it's going to bring in, the people who are going to be going to these places are people with an income.
Grown people go.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna go ahead.
And consumption centers as well. Consumption, you don't necessarily just smoke. You can eat your edibles, you can
But that's what
do
we
your
said. We
face.
just want 3 of those.
So-
We want 3 of those.
I'm gonna say for retailers, I'm thinking 5.
So that's what we
That's
said.
what I'm
About 5
thinking.
retailers.
Because we
That's a
want,
good number.
No, we don't.
Even-
We're not.
because we
5.
want the competition.
No, because 4 of them already got applications.
Well, so,
The recommendation is 5. We can check. We can.
so
You can always increase it.
Yeah.
right, I mean,
There you
well,
go.
right now, we're allowing 5 provisioning centers, I think. 4, I'm sorry.
Four.
So,
5.
so 4 provisioning centers for the medical, and right now, I think, anyone who is gonna be granted a provisioning center license is gonna be allowed to.
6.
So we're limiting, we're only allowed to have 4 adult use retailers at the moment until that 2021 date passes.
See,
Okay,
I
so
say
basically,
6,
So
because if 4 people have put their application, I think that they deserve
wait,
an
hang on.
opportunity.
I wanna make sure I'm clear though, but it sounds like what you're saying is we can only get 4 now
We're
anyway,
only can get 4.
until 2021.
Okay.
So I think, yeah,
4.
2.4.
might as well do 4.
4 then.
And then we'll revisit it once the 2021, whenever other people can join it.
You can add more, it's just.
Yeah, that's what we said. We
Yeah,
can
you can
add
add more before 2021.
Now,
It's
what
just
is-
in terms of the
Attorney,
medical.
is that what
it-
you're saying? We can add 5, but we can only approve 4.
4.
That's what the
Okay.
emergency, the
That's
emergency
medical
rules.
though, we're talking rec.
Recreation.
Well, I know, but the way the emergency rules now, which
Right, yep.
state is that only those who have medical marijuana licenses from the state, as far as provisioning centers,
Gotcha.
can, anyone else is ineligible from that license.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So 4.
So-
So 4, and then we can raise that once that happens. So we'll say 4.
Yeah. There
Okay.
you go.
Retailers, and what was the other thing we needed?
Well, you said micro business, you said.
Yeah, micro. How many?
Oh, okay.
For micro?
For micro now, let's talk about micro business. So that's where you're gonna get your social equity people,
Yeah.
okay?
But wait
So-
a minute.
Go ahead.
We did 2 different numbers. We did light industrial for the smoke places, and then now we just did retailers, which is 4.
Oh, there's
Now we're
another
doing
4. Okay.
micro. So that's what we're doing.
There's no
Recommendations.
retail. There's no
Okay.
retail except micro business.
We said 4
For
retailers,
for
3
recreation marijuana. There's
smoke
no
places.
retail.
What?
Is
Say
it?
it again?
Is a micro business, is the
No, we're
retail.
doing, no, that's a
They're separate.
separate one. It's a
They're
separate, we're looking at
Retailers
different
and
numbers.
then micro business for adult use.
Yes.
2 different.
So
Okay.
what's the number?
They're allowed to do a micro business and a retail shop?
Well,
It's
micro
just
business is
all-
part of it.
The
So
social
you
equity.
can sell it, you can grow it.
I
package it,
understand
sell it.
that, but you're saying retail,
But
and I need to understand what the retail is.
Well,
Yeah, so-
retail is just selling.
Yeah,
Micro
but
business is the cultivating
Okay,
processing,
I got you,
packaging.
I
and
got
stuff.
How many,
Okay, so for micro, that's where the social, yeah, I like those
so they
larger
said
numbers.
6 for micro,
Let me ask you before you give a number.
okay.
Does that mean people can grow it in their homes?
Well, they can do that
It's
anyway.
gotta be, no, it's gotta be a commercial, it's gotta be, it's gotta be a traditional.
Oh, yeah, that many, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I say we start with 6,
6 commercial, that's our
or not
recommendation.
commercial, micro.
Micro,
6
micro, but it has to be in a commercial.
But they'll have the guidelines from the state. If they've done their research, they'll know it can't
So
be in the
6.
house.
Is there, what other numbers do we need as a recommendation?
Consumption.
Consumption,
You
Huh?
said three
smokehouse.
yeah, 3 smokehouses.
They're not,
Consumption.
So I've never,
Consumption,
so I've
passion
never
is not a
consumed,
consumption,
so
is under the-
all of this language is new. I never hit it, so I,
There's processors, there's growers, A, B, and C, secure transport.
What is your recommendation?
My recommendation?
3, yes.
Yeah, we only have so much space for
Yeah, 3,
the, I mean,
you can't
amount of
just-
land.
3?
I mean, because, so you're gonna have those growers, I mean, because
Pretty
Novo's been approved as a grower, a Class C grower, they're gonna be able to apply for, as class, if we say,
Yes.
2 or 3 class,
And they can stack and stack
they
and
can
stack.
stack, right, because you can have, there's something, you've got up to 5, they're called, more than 5 Class C growers, they're called, there's a special
So,
term for that.
But the more you
So
have,
here's
the
the
lower the cost will, you can have too many growers,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but then that will bring the price of the overall cost of the
Down.
flower down. But you don't, really want that many growers. Right now, Noble has the ability to grow 4,000 plants. And then what they've been able to do is transfer, or these medical can transfer some of their flower to the adult use once they're approved for the adult use as well. So you can do
But
that.
only
once, but you
only
can still
once
do it,
and only,
right.
yeah.
But Noble will be ready to harvest in October.
Can I get a point of clarity? So whatever number we select, if a person that's approved, if they stack their licenses, is that included in that number or no? So for
Yeah.
example,
Stacked licenses means you have to, you're only allowed as many licenses as the city allows.
okay,
So
if one person wanted to stack 3, then that would be
they
the,
need 3 licenses.
so that would be our max if that's in our ordinance 3 and it's,
Right.
okay.
okay,
Wow.
so that makes sense, so.
So we don't want one person to monopolize.
Well, right now, do we have, other than Noah, do we have any growers?
We have 2 others, we have 3. Yeah, we have 3 now.
Noble has 2 permits, Class Cs, which allows up to 3,000, well, to 1,500 per seed. And I don't know if we,
You're saying 4,000 for North.
Yeah, because of the license.
We have 4 growers.
4,
okay.
I can't hear, 4 growers is what we have applications for?
We have licenses for,
we have 4 applications.
and we have 4 applications.
And every one of them's gonna apply for recreation. Every one of them. I would if I was.
Yes, absolutely.
But let me throw another caveat in. You know what happened when they stopped us from drinking liquor? We all went underground and started growing and processing liquor. Now, you go to the medical marijuana right now with a card. You better have some money. Most people don't have that kind of money. Guess where they going? To the neighbor who's growing it, and he gonna sell it for a minimum amount of money.
Until he starts really making money, then it's expand.
So I'm saying
That market's probably not gonna really go anywhere despite, I don't
Henry,
care what
what-
municipality
what-
it is,
yeah,
that
what do you
is
suggest?
I'm saying-
somebody's gonna always go with.
I'm asking for a number.
no, you got the number. That's great. The
No.
number is great.
Not for this, we haven't given a number for this one yet.
Okay, but I just wanna hear me, I want you guys to hear me say
I hear what you're saying.
that if we're outpriced, what the results will be.
Gotcha.
So you're
My
saying,
neighbor on the corner will be having a traffic around the corner every day, cause he can sell it for a minimum amount of money. And these growers is coming from Colorado and every place else that they've already set up business. It's gonna outsource, gonna make us outsource and go underground with this.
So,
Can I
I'm
make
sorry,
a
Commissioner.
suggestion?
Go ahead.
I mean, because I think we've dealt with the 2 licenses or permits that aren't covered in the medical marijuana. Why don't we stick with the licenses, the number for those? And if we got 4 grow facilities for Class C,
That's what I was
we
asking.
we make that the same number permitted for the recreational marijuana.
You're kidding. That makes sense.
Why not?
Commissioner,
Because that's,
I said it half an hour ago.
So, but no, but but if he's saying you count stackables, I want to still make sure I'm clear. So you're saying if we do 4, then in theory, if the 4 people we currently have get a license, they couldn't stack anything, right? Or are you saying they can still stack?
They can stack.
Oh, they
Because
can
if they have 2 Class C permits, like Novo does,
Okay.
then they can, if they apply for all 4 Class C permits under adult use, they potentially can get all 4 permits, or whoever, the other 4 applications.
What's the maximum that they could get? 3?
Well, under medical marijuana?
No, if they were to stack. You said that they could do.
Well, no, there's a special type of, there's a definition of what is it? If you got over 5 Class C grow licenses, they're called, I don't remember what they're called. I don't think there's a limit.
There's not a limit.
And I don't think, but again, they're only gonna be allowed to have as many facilities as the city allows.
Most of these cannabis companies are in the business of acquiring licenses, so
And then
that's why,
holding them and selling them and trading.
and so that's why, the city of Benton Harbor has an offer of license, and that's why these companies are here, because Benton Harbor says that they had the licensing. So that they're in the that's a lot of their business, they're into the acquisition of licenses.
What did you write
in
your ordinance? You said you wrote an ordinance, but we haven't seen it. What number did you put?
It was based off of the numbers that was on the previous medical ordinance.
Oh.
It's just been streamlined to actually take a lot of the responsibility out of, you make decisions, but in terms of the overall, it goes back on the state. So a lot of that stuff it's been streamlined to give the state more of the shouldering. You make the decisions on, but in terms of that it was streamlined so that it was both medical and adult. And then there was also a section where it was based on the number of from your previous medical ordinance. And then the other was based on you coming up with the number. So I left that section blank.
Okay.
So we came up with 6. Is there anything else that we need to come up with a recommendation for? 3 grow houses, 4 retailers, 6 micros. Is what I have.
And we're good on zoning, because the only thing we really changed zoning for
Well,
was.
that's gonna be kind of.
Planning
Oh,
commission. That's not us, planning
Okay.
commission. Is there anything else that we need to give a recommendation for the commission to be able to make a decision about this? City manager?
Right now, let's wait until we get the ordinance together here and see it all in one.
That's what I mean, so we can see it all.
Right.
All right, I think this is it. No, we have one more item, Commissioner. Can we, thank you, sir, this is it.
Thank you.
We have 2 more items. Can we look at the discussion at 312 Broadway? Who brought that?
I don't know, but,
Oh.
Who?
Yeah, the resolution. Did he send a resolution?
Who did? For what?
Yeah, for the church.
Yeah, right.
So that was.
Oh, really?
That was
Oh,
in order to close on that property. There's some issues with the
Good luck.
title and deed and all of that.
Where's
So he didn't submit a resolution.
Broadway,
That's the church. The church property.
Exactly. Can we?
He asked was it added, and I told him no, so we can cross that one out.
Okay.
For next, I thought next week.
Oh, the church.
Alright.
Good job.
I mean it. I mean.
Do you have that, resolution?
I sent it to all of you.
No.
And can we just put it together? I will make sure that I resend it. If we can just take the simple words of basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 elected officials have same and equal power when it comes to placing anybody on any board, no one head over the other. Real simple.
But my only issue with that, Commissioner, is since this commission has been formed, every mayor has appointed who they wanted, and so I don't know if.
Okay,
That's the problem.
okay, but exactly,
That's the problem.
That's
why
the
they
problem.
fixed it. Because
and it needs to be fixed. I think it's very unfair. If you come down here, don't you deserve an opportunity to learn how to do a different task on a committee or a board? Do you think that you're privy to sit for 20 years and not allow somebody, okay then?
Commissioner Allen, can I just ask a question? So, are you meaning for standing committees or?
Standing committees, authorities, well, everything. Everything that we have the power.
There are some boards that in the charter that it has to be in that way. And that's planning
Oh,
commission,
really? Oh, okay.
library.
And some people need to read it too. So make sure.
Well, I'm just letting you know.
I know, I already know, but they tried to make me think that I didn't.
So when you say you wanted to change for committees or the
Committees, or anything else that we all have the equal power.
Or are you just proposing for that
Any
same
authority.
resolution to go for the
Listen to
commission?
what she
Okay.
asked you, Commissioner.
All of the committees.
But hold on, so listen to what I'm saying. Some boards you can't because it's in the charter and it outlines how the appointments are made. But do you want that same resolution that was presented before the commission in 2000, I think it was? Do you want that same one to come back before the commission now for approval?
I think it needs to be tweaked.
bring it back to this committee and let us see it, and if there's something.
No, you got it in an email weeks ago, probably a whole month ago.
I know, but.
Yes, bring it back to this committee.
To this committee.
Yep, so, and put it on the agenda so we, so we can look at it and.
Like it was approved in 2000, and then you can tweak or whatever.
Yeah, change the word.
Yeah.
For next,
That'll
Yeah.
help.
so bring it back to this committee.
Yes.
Cause I didn't come down here to be comfortable, and nobody else has the right to do so either. Like, it's your authority, it's your board. There.
So this meeting is adjourned. Thank everybody for their input.
Great job.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great job,
And Mr. Mitchell, I sat in for a couple of the commissioners on the airport authority. And I learned quite a bit, but my thing was, in the midst of their conversations, when they were flying the people out there in Benton Heights, they said, oh, we're going to try and open